Ooh, looking good today, brother.
Thanks, brother. Likewise, my man.
All right, I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. Get a little intro going on. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Slow Burn. Still waiting on our brother Dan and Naki Dan, but today's fun. We're gonna dive a bit deeper into the history of calendars. Maybe why. There's a fly that keeps going right on my camera. I love it. Maybe we're gonna find out a little bit deeper understanding of why we got stripped away of the 13 months. Doesn't make sense. Is it for some sort of, higher echelonic reason? I don't know. We're gonna dive into that today. So if you guys want to join into the chat, you're more than welcome. Hey. The link will be in the Telegram group, so just go on over to the link in the description here in the show, and you guys can join the chat. Today we have with us our friend Stacy Sunshine. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, hi. I am hanging out here in the desert in 29 Palms next to Joshua Tree, and just getting ready to talk about whatever we're going to talk about, because you know how everything goes.
There it is. I am hearing a little bit of feedback on your end. Are you on speaker or you got a headset in?
Me, I'm on speaker. Let me find a headset.
Okay, thank you. And then, of course, we have the OG, Indy Sage, looking like a fresh haircut, looking slick with the button up too.
Feeling good, brother. Just rocking with fresh threads today.
Nice. So I'm gonna be honest, brother. Okay, I have some juice for today, but I don't have the fresh squeezed. My juice today is probably from a concentrate that's been in the freezer section at Safeway for a few months.
Got you, brother.
So I'm gonna be riding the coattails today of your stuff. So
Sounds good.
Is that good? You sent me a bunch of stuff. I feel like you're ready.
Yeah, I'm going to go off of that stuff that I sent you, some of the research I've been working on, and that'll set up a good foundation for us today on the show, I think.
Yes, sir. Dan is somewhere in the ether. He'll join us shortly, I hope. I want to shout out to the 2 people that are joined in now, soon to be more. We got a Colt 45. What's up, brother? Hey. And the other mysterious human out there. Thank you guys for tuning in, joining the chats. I want to wait for Dan, but also I don't necessarily want to wait for Dan. But I guess I'm just gonna start off by sharing my screen, and I'm gonna read a little bit on just the basic Wikipedia page of the history of calendars, just to kind of get us started, get us warmed up. And see what the basic Wikipedia internet has to say for us. All right, here we go. The history of calendars, that is, of people creating and using methods for keeping track of days in larger divisions of time, covers a practice with ancient roots. Go figure. Archaeologists have reconstructed methods of timekeeping that go back to prehistoric times, at least as old as the Neolithic. The natural units for timekeeping used by most historical societies are the day, the solar year, and the lunation. Calendars are explicit schemes used for timekeeping. The first historically attested and formalized calendars date to the Bronze Age, dependent on the development of writing in the ancient Near East. The Sumerian calendar was the earliest, followed by the Egyptian, the Assyrian, and the Elamite calendars. The Vikram Samvat has been used by the Hindus and the Sikhs. One of the several regional Hindu calendars is in use on the Indian subcontinent. It is based with the 12 synodic lunar months and the 365 solar days. The lunar year begins on the new moon of the month of Chaitra. This day, known as Chaitra Sukladi, is a restricted optional holiday in India. And that's pretty common for my understanding of what the 13-month year is there's 1 or 2 days of an optional holiday. That's what rounds it up to that 365 when you're going off the 13-month. A number of ancient and medieval inscriptions used the Vikram Samvat, although it was reportedly named after the legendary king Vikramaditya Samvastara. In short, Samvat is a Sanskrit term for year. Emperor Vikramaditya of Ujjain started Vikram Samvat in 57 BC, and it is believed that this calendar follows his victory over the Saka in 56 BC. A large number of calendar systems in the ancient Near East appear in the Iron Age archaeological record based on the Assyrian and Babylonian calendars. This includes the calendar of the Persian Empire, which in turn gave rise to the Zoroastrian calendar, as well as the Hebrew calendar, which are both very mystic. Calendars in antiquity are usually lunisolar, depending on the introduction of intercalary months to align the solar and lunar years. This was mostly based on observation, but there may have been early attempts to model the pattern intercalation algorithmically, as evidenced in the fragmentary 2nd century Coligny calendar. Nevertheless, the Roman calendar contained very ancient remnants of the pre-Etruscan 10-month solar year. The Roman calendar was reformed by Julius Caesar in 45 BC. The Julian calendar was no longer dependent on the observation of the new moon, but simply followed an algorithm of introducing a leap day every 4 years. This created a disassociation of the calendar month from the lunation. That's when it really started. So 45 BC, which is just 11 years after the Indian calendar. In the 11th century in Persia, a calendar reform led by Khayyam was announced in 1079, when the length of the year was measured 365.24219858156 days. Given the length of the years changing in 6 decimal place over a person's lifetime, this is outstandingly accurate. For comparison, the length of the year to the end of the 19th century was 365.2421996 days, while today, 1999, it is 365.242.190. So yeah, that's 6 degrees in how long? Every 100 years. So the Gregorian calendar was introduced as a refinement of the Julian calendar in 1582 and is today and worldwide used as the de facto calendar for secular purposes. That's our intro there.
Fabulous. I couldn't have said it better myself, my friend.
Nice.
That was incredible. Dan.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, sorry, bud. I didn't see you there. I was reading. Hello, Dan, and hello, Stacy, with a camera now.
You're muted.
Fabulous intro.
Trying to figure out the audio issues and why my headphones aren't reading on my computer. So I'm going to mute myself while I figure that out.
No worries.
So that was a wonderful in-depth look at the foundation of our calendars that we have today, solar and lunar. And we're going to dive deep into some of that stuff and go a little bit more into some of these Near East calendars that we find that we've been exploring in our intro, particularly the Hebrew calendar. We're going to go into some of that. Dan, what do you got? What are you bringing to the table today, brother?
Dude, I got a whole bunch of shit.
Nice.
Always.
Beautiful.
I got let's see here. Why are there 365 days in a year? Organizing dates with the ancient Egyptian calendar. I got where do the names of our months come from? New Year, old calendar, the origins and controversy of the Gregorian calendar. Mayan calendar, similar to ancient Chinese. The oldest known calendar in Europe is based on the Orion constellation, linking the planets and human life. Venus calendars help track pregnancy in Neolithic Greece. 10,000-year-old engraved stone found to be world's oldest lunar calendar. And ancient Egyptians discovered the period of Algol 3 millennia before previously thought and used the information for divination.
Fabulous.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah, like I was saying before you hopped on, I myself will be riding the coattails of you two gentlemen, and I will interject with the one cool thing that I found that's a lot more modern, but it's still pretty interesting. So I think after that little intro, I think maybe we should pass the mic over to Indy and see where we're gonna head next, where we time jump into.
All right. First off, we're heading over to the Hebrew calendar. We're gonna make our way from there towards the Mayan calendar as well, and everything in between.
Do you have any images you want me to find and pop up and share?
Yeah, there's an article that I had sent over to you about the Hebrew calendar.
I'll pull that up.
Here we go.
I missed what Roman did, so
Oh, it's
I'm a
just
little
the
behind on that.
the intro of the Wikipedia of the history of calendars.
Okay.
We got in some good stuff. Brought up the Zoroastrian and Persian calendar and the Hebrew calendar, and the Zoroastrian calendar is pretty fascinating. I mean, you know, if everyone listening, I'm sure we're well aware of the interesting mystics of the Zoroasters, and so their calendar would be probably similar to that of the Orion calendar.
Yeah, I have a little history of timekeeping, but if you already did some of the history, then
It's
that's good
always
too.
more. I'll always need more, man. So yeah,
This
whoever
one's
wants to
pretty long.
All right. I can start us off. Let's see here. Oh man. I'm trying to find this post I made. Huh.
There we go.
You want me to get into it?
All right. Just having some technical difficulties pulling up my page here that I made some research on, but what I've been finding is that there's a 19-year cycle in the Hebrew calendar, from which they choose 7 of the years to have a 13-month year, and for the other 12 years they have a 12-month year.
Oh God, I hate these fucking. Okay.
Let's see here.
Who doesn't
That-
want to accept cookies, by the way? Of course I want cookies.
Yes, and I wish they would actually like. We need to get a computer. Like we need to advance to the point in technology and the point of existence to where when you press accept cookie, you have a cookie that pops out from your computer, freshly baked. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And okay, all right. Let's do a quick roundtable, little warm up for everybody. Let's just say, what's your favorite cookie? How do
Chocolate
you like it? God damn, it's not your turn yet.
Soft.
Okay. He likes soft chocolate chip cookies, and I can't blame him.
Warm or cold?
Warm.
Nice.
Nice.
Fresh out the oven.
hmm
Like not even cooled down on the wire rack, or do you like them just like?
Just like a little bit cool down, you know?
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, exactly. What about you, Stacy?
We have a cookie recipe in our house that we have long called the "Yes, you can eat them for breakfast" cookies, an adaptation of the oatmeal
Yeah.
cookie full of dried fruit and nuts and stuff. Total goodness. So
Do you
yeah, we have long let. Yeah, go ahead.
you Did you mean you can't eat cookies for breakfast? Because I thought
You
they
can
were
eat cookies for
food.
breakfast. Yeah, they are totally a breakfast food. Yes. Yes.
You guys are animals.
absolutely. Yeah.
Brutes, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, I figured it was
Oh.
about the same stuff that was in a bowl of oatmeal, so why the heck not?
Yep, exactly.
Mhm, mhm,
My favorite is a classic oatmeal chocolate chip oatmeal raisin with mini
Mm.
chocolate chips if I can.
mhm,
And I like to put extra vanilla, pure vanilla in there.
mhm.
And and honestly, if you want to go as far to throw just like I'm talking just a straight dash of rum in there.
Like
Oh,
spiced rum?
spiced rum when you're so this is how you do it, right? You got to
Mhm.
cream your butter and your sugar together, right? Your
Mhm.
butter's got to be absolutely room temperature, and you cream your butter and your sugar
Mhm.
together, and you slowly dribble in the cinnamon and the vanilla, and then if you have just that little bit of cooking rum on the side, clap it in there. Boom, let that get good. One egg at a time. Okay. You want to go crazy, add an extra egg white, fluff them up on the side, and then softly fold in those egg whites. You can absolutely do that. Sift your flour always, because we are not savages around here.
We're not barbarians.
We are cultured, okay, here at the
Mhm.
at Rising from the Ashes, clearly. And anyways, yeah, I'm a big oatmeal cookie guy. Andy?
Yum.
I am a snickerdoodle guy myself.
Oh,
Love
Snickerdoodle.
those peanut butter chocolate chip. You can't
Nice.
go wrong.
Oh, peanut butter
True.
chocolate chip.
True.
I mean, you really can't go wrong with any cookie.
let's
But
let's see what's happening in the
Right?
chats.
All right. So
Everybody.
get back
Right?
onto the page here with the calendars and stuff. I got a little lost in my notes, but I found my place here. Now, as I referred to earlier, there's a 19-year, what's called as the embolismic year cycle in the Hebrew lunar calendar, lunar calendar, in which there are 13-month years called the Adar or second Adar. Whether the year is embolismic or not is determined in place of its 19-year cycle. And that is a fascinating process. Now, so it's not a set cycle. They determine it, I guess, annually as the year comes in. They decide whether they're going to have a 13-year cycle or a 12-year cycle. So I know that.
Still?
Yeah, to this day.
That's cool.
It's not set in stone. So they use it, and they basically off of the 19-year cycle, they have to make sure that they have 7 13-month years.
And that correlates with the lunar standstill at 18.6 years, I'm guessing, is why they probably do that.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very sophisticated way to make it so that we're seeing that we do have a 12-month calendar, but sometimes a 13-month calendar. And they're making it all work out in the math by making it so that we have, for 12 of the years, we'll have a 12-month calendar. And for 7 of the years, we'll have a 13-month calendar in a 19-year cycle. So they're lining that up. And there's that 6 degrees every 100 years. We have the leap day in our solar calendar, which kind of shows that we have a 365-day calendar, except for 1 out of 4 of those cycle of years, we have a 366-day calendar. So that's kind of an analogy as to how they're laying this out in their calendars, which is fascinating.
That's every. Well, how many cycles of the 19-year cycle does it take to get to 366?
How many cycles of 13-month calendar?
Yeah.
Well, every 13-month year is also a solar year. So they just laid out with the different days of the month. And in the 13-month calendar, it's very succinct. It's a 28-day month calendar, which lines up with lunar cycles, and the menstrual cycle for women. But it does leave 1 day out of the year for most years, and then which would be 2 years out of the year for every 4 years
Mhm.
instead of just the one.
Hmm.
And
And
so
there was a special ceremony on those days.
yes, those days, we're going to go more into that, where we have the 13-month. Oh, the blurb didn't show up there. Let's see.
The
The
moon's
13-month calendar that was devised by Auguste Comte in 1849, that was based on a 364-day year, which included 1 day out of the year. That Abbé Mastrofini, an Italian Roman Catholic priest, had devised 15 years before. Each of the 13 months had 28 days in exactly 4 weeks. So it's kind of like going from the empirical system to the metric system. It just makes everything line up very easily to work your way through the calendar. Everything divides into 4 in a calendar, 4 weeks. You can divide it into half or quarters. The thing that's been troublesome for a 13-month calendar is that you can't divide it in half. And if you do, one of the months ends up becoming divided in its center, which was why the 13-month calendar was not globalized when it was attempted in recent history. Over the past several decades, there's been attempts to create the International Solar Fixed Calendar into a 13-month calendar, but it was denied by people on the fiscal aspect because they couldn't divide it a biannual year breakdown.
Mhm.
So it's been difficult, but I feel like there's a lot that goes back to this, that ties us back to our roots,
Oh, there we go.
Mhm.
where we have, the sacred feminine, which we can see as a representation of the 13-month calendar,
Mhm.
and the corrupt patriarch that has taken over with the false history, kind of trying to make 13 a bad luck number, and kind of demonizing 13. But as we see, 13 is much more succinct to the lunar calendar. We have, I think, let me look this up. I think it's about 12.87 synodic months.
And that's, it's funny also, just to stack on top of that. I mean, there's much depth and lore that goes into the number of 13, but
Mhm.
the letter M is also 13 in the modern English alphabet, which is incredibly significant as you start to break down the magic and the music and the musings of all the words that start with the letter M. and archetypes
Matriarchy.
that fill that role, that matriarchy, the moon, right? So to demonize that makes complete and utter sense. To demonize magic and
Mothers.
mothers.
Yep.
Oi, like this is, yeah, that's oi. Anyway,
That's all coming to the
That's
surface now.
all.
We're all seeing that rise up, and the truth is being found. The lost history is coming back, and we're going to help do some of that here today.
Yeah.
So with the sidereal months, we have about 27.3 months in the solar year, whereas with the synodic months, we see 29.53. So we're much closer to a 13-month year.
Mhm.
Month comes from the word moonth,
Mhm.
which has been shortened to month. So it's fascinating how the days of the week in our calendar has also been kind of changed through time and has ancient roots, referring to different planets in our solar system and the names of aligning gods in different cultures.
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the god Tu, but that's where Tuesday comes from. It's actually a name of Tyr, the Norse god, the handless god. He had one hand, and the other hand was taken by Fenrir Sulfur, Fenrir's wolf, Van Gonder, in order to bind him in the Gepnir chains. He had to offer his hand and lost it to Fenrir's wolf. but we represent him with Tuesday.
Wait, who is this? Fenrir's wolf?
Fenrir's wolf, yeah.
Deer.
Fenrir
Tier.
is the name of Loki,
Oh,
traditionally, which has been
Mhm.
misinterpreted as Fenrir's wolf, Fenrir Sulfur, who is named
I always have to
Hadripnir.
ask with the wolf because of Romulus and his brother starting Rome, because
Remus.
talking about the calendar takeover, Remus and Romulus. So I was like, oh, what wolf are we talking about? We're talking about the mama wolf? Who's suckling upon?
All right. Talking about
Sorry. Sorry.
Bill Fenrir. Put it in the brass tacks. But yeah, obviously, Monday is the moon day.
Mhm.
And then we have Tuesday is the day of two, which can also be known as the day of Martes in Spanish, which obviously refers to Mars and associated with Ares being the war god. So right there we have a flip-flop between the sacred masculine on Tuesday from the sacred feminine on Monday, preceding it. Which is very symbolic right there. But we could go forward with these days of the weeks. Now Wednesday, and sometimes it's easier to see their representations by looking at them in Italian or Spanish. Unless you're more versed in the mythology associated with it. But it's easier to tie it back to the planets with Spanish for me. In Spanish, we have miércoles for Monday, obviously being associated with Mercury. And then after day of Mercury on Wednesday, we have Thursday or Thor's Day, which is a representation of Jupiter, the Roman god association. And then we have
Wednesday is also Odin's Day.
Odin's Day. Yes. Good call. And it's interesting that Odin's Day, being the father of Thor, who's Jupiter, doesn't fall on Saturn Day. Because Kronos, the father of Zeus, who's associated with Thor, being a lightning god, the father of Zeus, Kronos, is represented by Saturn. And so it's interesting that it's different in the Norse mythology, where we have Odin being represented as Mercury, the god of communication, and associated with psychic abilities and witchcraft. That Odin
He also sits in the middle of the week.
Exactly.
Just so we can see both directions, forward and backward.
I have at this book the Greek Kabbalah, which I highly recommend people get, written by Kieran Berry. It's so good. It is. It's one of those books you have to like read a few pages. It's so dense, and you're just like mind blown constantly. But incredible origins of the alphabet, incredible origins of the calendars and things, and this was a cool. I like this version of their days of the week with the gods. You got first day, obviously, is moon, and the god associated with Selene or Hecate. The second day, Tuesday, is the planet Mercury and Hermes on Tuesdays, which is why I fucking love Tuesdays. The third, Wednesday, is Venus, Aphrodite. Fourth, the Sun, Helios. Fifth, Mars, Aries. And the sixth, Jupiter, Zeus. Seventh, Saturn, and Kronos. So it's different. It's different than any other ones that I heard. And so I had to run to my room real quick and grab that. But remember, ancient Greeks thought Tuesday was the day of Hermes. That's mercurial. That's transmutable. That's interesting. Tuesdays are tight.
Yeah. You're right there. Hermes, Mercury, Thoth, Jehudi, back to Enki, the big connection to Enoch, and Futsi, the Green Emperor of China, also connected, all represented by the caduceus staff of the intertwining serpents, which are representative of the Kundalini,
Mhm.
of the triple coiled serpent that coils around the energy of the chakras and
The
is released
Orphic egg.
through the Ida and Pingala amongst the Sanshuma. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And that is all representative by Mercury. And the Caduceus staff, which is fascinating. And it was hard for me to find any research on Thoth actually having a Caduceus staff, but I was able to find it in the hieroglyphs. There is actually an image carved of Thoth having a Caduceus staff of intertwined serpents, which seems to predate the representation of the Caduceus staff that came later.
Mhm. Hey, Roman, can you look up some interpretations of Hermes, Mercury, or Thoth as hourglass figure?
Yes.
That'd be great. Now, if you guys want to go into this, I have the story of Thoth and his negotiation with the moon god Khonsu, of creating the 365-day calendar from a 360-day previous calendar. You guys want to go into that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
an interesting
Do it.
story.
As the god of the sun, it was Ra's job to make a daily trip across the sky. Starting with the eastern horizon, he sailed a special sunboat across the back of Nut, the goddess of the sky, sometimes associated with the Milky Way. 12 hours later, he reached the western horizon and then traveled another dozen hours through the underworld, where he faced many dangers until he could be reborn again into the beginning of the next day. Because he was such an important god, Ra was involved in many Egyptian myths, and one of the myths, Isis outsmarted him to learn his secret magic name. In another legend, Ra is disgusted by the behavior of humankind and sends his daughter Sekhmet to punish them, although she gets carried away and nearly wipes out the whole species. A whole nother story involves other gods and goddesses. It goes something like this. Once upon a time, way back when Ra was ruling the earth, he had overheard a prophecy that Nut, the sky goddess, would one day have a son that would replace him on the throne. Outraged, he cast a spell that forbade Nut to ever give birth to any child on any day of the 360-day year's calendar. Nut was naturally quite saddened by this, and so she turned to Thoth, the ibis-headed god of wisdom and writing, because if anyone could outsmart the spell, it would be Thoth. Thoth hatched a plan. He visited Khonsu, the moon god, who loved to play a game of Senet, and Thoth challenged Khonsu to a game. So Khonsu couldn't resist, and after all, he was confident that he was the best Senet player of all in all the world, and knew he would enjoy boasting about his victory over the gods of wisdom. And so when Thoth said that he wanted to play for some of Khonsu's moonlight, Khonsu was not at all worried. Thoth easily won the first game and got an hour of moonlight as a reward. Anxious to win back his light, Khonsu agreed to another game and another and another and kept losing. When Thoth finally had won enough hours of light to equal 5 days, he called it quits. And Khonsu was left so exhausted that from that moment on, he could no longer shine a full moon every night, and he got weaker and weaker, and the moon got smaller and smaller until he had to go into hiding to recuperate during the new moon. As strength returned, the moon would gradually become larger and larger until it became a full moon, and only for a night, then Khonsu would be sapped of all his strength, and the moon would shrink again. So if you haven't figured it out by now, this is how the Egyptians explained how the moon changed phases. Now Thoth returned to Nut with the 5 extra days worth of light, and Thoth inserted these 5 bonus days between the last day of the year and the first day of the next. Since these days were not part of any year, Nut was able to use them to have her children despite Ra's curse, and Osiris, who would indeed go on to replace Ra as the ruler on Earth, was born on the first day. And the second day, Nut and Set followed in order by Isis on the third, Nephthys on the fourth, and Hermachus on the fifth. Initially, the ancient Egyptians had thought that there were only 360 days in a year, so eventually their calendars got out of sync with their farming seasons, and this myth helped account for the need for those 5 extra days to fix their calendar. And that's thanks to the Neferchichi.com article that I've been reading from you guys. And this is just some fascinating breakdown of the ancient mythology and how it's been laid out to us, that we gathered wisdom over the years to change from a 360-day calendar, which is very mathematically savvy, particularly to a base 60 number system, which the Sumerians used, and had to actually add those extra 5 years. And it was a number of years, as we mentioned earlier in the show, in the intro, until we actually added those leap year days to make it a 365.25 solar year calendar.
Fascinating. I don't want to go too far off topic, but just because we're talking about Hermes and Thoth and this character, I was looking up Dan asked me to look up Thoth with an hourglass, and then I got on this page. And then what's interesting is it's the Hermit card is associated with Mercury, and that's where we found the hourglass. And then I saw this. I'm like,
whoa.
Yeah.
Phallic symbol in the middle right there.
And but I was like, but why is
The uncarved block.
Thoth here with that? But I guess I read this and it's pretty interesting. The zodiacal
Attribution?
Mike keeps cutting out. There we go.
Okay.
The zodiacal attribution to the tarot hermit card is the sign of Virgo. Virgo is an earthly sign that represents the most receptive feminine form of Earth. Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is exalted in Virgo as well. Therefore, the hermit is represented by both Mercury, Thoth, and Hermes, and the Virgin. And one might say the most receptive form of Earth forms a crust over Hades, Mercury. Besides being Hermes and Thoth, is also a form of Hades, who is the fiery messenger of spirit that is descended into matter, signaling all reintegration by spirit, a phallic symbol into being. This is known in Western Hermetic Kabbalah as the formula of the princess, the mode of fulfillment of the great work. Therefore, the fertility generated by this event of Virgo itself is the dark green, the wheat background on the Thoth Hermit card. So, why I thought that was so interesting is, one, there is cross correlation between Osiris and Isis worship here, that paradigm, because Isis and the golden phallus of Osiris is the wheat chaff, and there's direct correlation here through this the hermit card and through Hermes and Mercury and mercurial symbolism of having, the Virgo sign, which is Isis, right? Isis holding the wheat chaff, which is, and so I thought that was pretty interesting. What do you guys think about that there?
Absolutely. That's fascinating. That kind of ties everything in what we're talking about here with the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. All these breakdowns of the calendars. And it's interesting to look at all the different aspects. The tarot brings a lot of light to this stuff. It's one of the most ancient vestiges of our lost culture from the history, which is beautiful. And very fascinating. I know Isis, I think, is associated with wheat and possibly barley, rose milk. Thoth being associated with gambling, as we mentioned earlier. Also the god of wisdom and the god of the underworld, the scribe of the underworld for Ma'at, and for
So-
Anubis.
And as okay, so then there's even more Osiris, because the crossover between Osiris and Isis, once she has the phallus, it's like, okay, now she is Osiris basically, right? Or she has that, she has that power that Osiris had. But then there's okay, so Hermes and Thoth also, like, because Mercury's transmutable. So
Yes.
they we were talking about how Mercury can suck up gold, right? Liquid mercury sucks up solid gold and absorbs it.
Yeah.
So
alchemy.
that's fascinating. Yeah, that's the alchemical stories right here, of actual happenings on the mineral level, but then also within these these theologies and astrotheologies. But I never have made that association of the mercurial hermit card in the tarot and all of that mercurial symbolism, and also being transmutable with Isis. And it makes sense, because now if all Isis worship is all Hermeticism and Hermetics, then that all makes sense. A lot of things make
Absolutely.
sense. Holy shit.
Yeah. Actually, all of this mercurial stuff goes a lot deeper as well. If we look at the time breakdown on our clock or our watch, we have the minute, which comes from the moon god Min. Then the second actually comes from the second planet from the sun, Mercury. And so there's a connection there where there's some transmutation between Mercury and the sun, the center, which is the center of a clock on dials. Then Mercury being the second hand, then the minute hand being the third hand. So that's fascinating how the second means the second planet, or the second body from in our solar system, second celestial body, Mercury, the first planet. So that's
Wow.
fascinating. But
Yeah.
Mercury and all the depths of the symbolism behind Mercury is just incredible. There's so much to go into with that. I wanted to also mention how we mentioned earlier how Mercury is tied in with Odin, which is also kind of synonymous with Kronos, the Saturn god, which is also known as the Black Sun, Saturn. So there's ties between the Black Sun and the Sun, and kind of brings to light the idea that some of the original sun gods were a god of the sun in the day sun, and a god of the underworld in the night sun. At which later point, those things were bifurcated to an underworld and an above world gods pantheon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's quite fascinating. We mentioned earlier how the breakdown of the 12 steps across the sky come from Horus, which gives us the hours, which is Horus change of letters to make hours. According to a lot of astrotheologists, made that association.
Some words that are popping on me right now are planets and planting, and we plant by the calendar.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering if maybe if maybe there's a tie-in between why we call them planets, or why we live on a planet.
Seeds.
Plant-
and
Seeds.
seeds and seeds.
Planting and seeds, yeah, and all of that is just weaving all over right now in my head. So
I'm gonna look
Nice.
up some
Thank
etymology.
you.
Well,
yeah.
I have this article here. Maybe it'll help add to some of this that we're talking about. The oldest known calendar in Europe is based
you
on
get,
the Orion constellation.
Did you get some cookies with this article here?
Yeah.
The etymology of a
They
planet
didn't give me
comes down
fucking
to
nothing.
a star other than a fixed star revolving in an orbit.
Uh-huh.
But not to say that planet doesn't also come from plant. And plants
Or-
being an integral part of Gaian life here.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, yeah,
Make
why
a
they
hand.
created the calendar in the first place.
Yeah.
Right.
In this article by Carrie Sullivan from AncientOrigins.com, the oldest known calendar in Europe is based on the Orion constellation. In the late 1970s, during the construction of the atomic bomb shelter, a shattered pot was found amongst the rubble. Archaeologists were baffled by the strange pattern on the vessel, which dates back to 2600 BC, until Dr. Alexander Derman finally cracked the code. It was a calendar. Yet, unlike the contemporary Egyptian or Sumerian calendars, this European timetable was not based on the sun or the moon, but rather on the stars. Central to the charting of the seasons was the constellation named after the noble Greek hunter Orion. The pot was unearthed on March 21st, 1978, during construction of what is now the Hotel Slavonia in Vinkovici, Croatia. Archaeologists quickly recognized it as an artifact of the ancient Vucedol culture, which flourished on the western banks of the Danube River, tribe of Dan, between 3000 and 2200 BC. However, though researchers knew it to be the Vucedol people, the pattern was not decoded for several decades. And then Vucedol society was contemporary to the beginnings of Troy, the old kingdom of Egypt, and the Sumerian empire of Mesopotamia. Unlike those civilizations, the Vucedol were of Indo-European ancestry and therefore did not worship the moon. It was the sun that was the Vucedol revered, yet even that could not help them understand the seasons, for these people lived on the 45th parallel. As many of the northern hemisphere know, the sun does not rise and fall in the same place throughout the year as it does at the equator. Thus, the Vucedol looked to the orderly movements of the stars instead. Of the utmost importance was Orion, a constellation easily recognized by the Hunter's Belt, which is formed of 3 bright stars in a straight line. In the region where the Vucedol lived, Orion would sink beneath the horizon and disappear throughout the summer. In the times of Vucedol culture, Orion's Belt, which is the dominant winter constellation, sank under the horizon exactly on March 21st, thus making the spring equinox, said Dr. Alexander Dumont. The Vucedol realized that Orion marked the beginning of a new year from the simple fact they were able to construct the entire calendar of the year. And I'm going to add this too. Prior to the Romans, March was considered the first month, and they added January and February to the beginning of the calendar. So March was the original first month. So that's why October would have been 8 and not 10 as it is now.
So were they given marching orders?
Marching into the
yeah,
labyrinth
that's
there.
when they would march out their.
Mm-hmm.
That's when they would march out their armies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
And then the calendar can be seen on the pot found in 1978. The decorative pattern is broken down into 4 rows, one for each season. The lowest row near the bottom of the vessel represents spring. The pot is broken so one cannot see all the quadrants for each row, but the pictures that remain in the first stripe depict the sun and the belt of Orion. The second row represents summer. Quadrants in this row depict the Pleiades, Cygnus, and Cassiopeia. Equally important constellations that were also used by the Greeks to determine the movement of the heavens. Cassiopeia, in particular, is useful for telling the time of the year. During the summer, the 5 stars form a W shape. As the year progresses, that W spins until by the time winter comes, the 5 stars are in the shape of an M. Greek legends has it that the queen Cassiopeia is chained to her throne and doomed to forever spin in the sky because she claimed that her daughter was more beautiful than the gods. The third row depicts the autumn. The quadrants in this row show the Pleiades, Gemini, and Pegasus Pisces. Finally, the top row represents the winter. Here one can see the Cassiopeia symbol flipped 180 degrees, as well as Pegasus, Pisces, the Pleiades, Gemini, and the return of the dominant winter constellation Orion. Although the pattern cannot be known for certain, given the shape that the pot is in, researchers believe that each row now originally had 12 quadrants, which could correspond with the number weeks of each season. The Vucedol Society was high structured. Evidence has been found of Vucedol personages of apparently high regard buried with golden jewelry. Initially cattle herders, the Vucedol mastered the art of copper smelting around 3000 BC. Working with copper not only provided economic advantages, but was also considered to be powerful magic. The highest ranks of Vucedol society was thus the coppersmiths, a caste that was dominated by shamans. These shaman smiths were believed to be able to reach into the very heart of the earth and draw the lifeblood that is copper. However, the shaman smith was able to manipulate the ore through natural processes in order to alter its nature and better serve humans. It must be remembered that smelting copper is no easy feat. The shaman smith had to know how to avoid the poisonous gas, arsenic, that is inherent in copper smelting. With time, the shaman smith would lose his ability to coordinate body movements as the arsenic, never wholly avoidable, slowly killed him. In the Vucedol culture, people were born into the castes and professions. So that's an interesting little tidbit there.
That's beautiful.
As I drink out of my copper water bottle.
Nice.
I think it's interesting that then, if that is true, why would the Egyptians create pyramids associated with Orion constellation? If you would
that's
think
true.
that probably the pyramids would have been built for purposes of tracking stars and stuff like that, for planting crops in the Nile Valley, why would they have then used Orion unless it came from a long previous culture from the north, perhaps?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, observatories, obviously, like when we're talking about calendars and the building of observatories, going back to what's the proper archaeological term for a structure that's built to specifically tell time? Like in the Americas, we have those big boulders that sit perfectly slanted, and then there's two circles, right? There's the one inside the other, and all it does is it track a shadow the whole time. There's a name for those types of calendars. But that's itself is like kind of like an observatory, or the Georgia Guidestones is kind of like an observatory, right? Like an esoteric observatory. You peer at the North Star through a specific hole, built in a specific way, lay the cornerstone. And so I don't know. Yeah, I think that article and what you brought up about the pyramids afterwards, it makes sense, because
Obelisks was the word you were looking for, maybe?
no, but also yes. I mean that definitely does fit. That's 100%. Yeah. At least some more than others do.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
Yeah, the one he's thinking of, I believe, starts with Astro.
Yeah,
it's like Astro.
Astronomical clocks.
Not astronomical clock. It's like archaeological. Structure. Gosh, dude, if you guys could just see the things I type into.
Same.
Oh, archaeoastronomy. Archaeoastronomy. Calendar cities.
There we go.
Calendar cities. Now we're using. Now
there's
we're
Adam's
with
calendar. There's what's it called?
I would say cooking with
Stonehenge.
juice. I did not mean cooking with
Hmm.
juice.
You may have.
I maybe we are cooking with juice. Goodness. Oh, one thing I found that I thought was pretty. I don't know. It's kind of like a strange little weave, but I'll share the screen here, and then I'll get going on. Indy, you got another article, right, brother?
Yeah.
All right, let me share this one thing real quick. See what you guys think on this. So when we're talking about the Hebrew calendar, I noticed that the first month of the year is called Nisan or Nisan, or with two N's, two S's too. In the Babylonian and the Hebrew calendars, it's the barley ripening, the first month of spring, the birth, right? The birth into the labyrinth. But also there's the car company Nissan. And apparently Nissan in Japanese means sun. And like Nis, N-I-S means sun. And then the san is like production. So it's like production of the sun or production of like Japanese made or what have you. But I thought it was kind of interesting that I tried to look up other languages to see what other like, but I couldn't find it. Nissan, it was just, it's Arabic, and apparently Japanese. I couldn't find anything in German, couldn't find anything in Proto-European or anything. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of just a weird little weave, you know, the Nissan car, and then it representing and having things with the Hebrew calendar.
Yeah, and the sun being a very prominent thing in the Japanese culture and their flag,
Mm-hmm.
having the sun.
Just as you said that too, this comment popped
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
But I mean, how surprised are we when you really think about like geographically where they're located? There's definitely some good communication going on there.
Now, if you tie things back to time when we were looking back at figuring out how we could use the sun to determine what the size of our planet is. Eratosthenes, who used the angle of a shadow cast by a stick at noon on the summer solstice in Alexandria, found that it had been made an angle of about 7.2 degrees, or about 1/50th of a complete circle. So he realized that if he knew the distance from Alexandria to Syene, he could easily calculate the entire circumference of the Earth.
Mhm.
So this shows that we've known since early archaic times that the Earth is round and spherical, and that's a massive celestial body like the rest, which they could tell by, you know, mostly if you look back at how they could tell comes from the lunar eclipses when we saw the orb crossing over the moon, but when we blocked the sun. So, but that's fascinating.
Mhm.
And Eratosthenes being the one that was able to help determine the circumference of our Earth from things like you mentioned earlier, these astronomical devices that we use, which have been made into calendars with stone and created what we have today as the sundial, which is kind of a vestige to our ancient past. A lot of these astronomical calendars exist around the world, most notably being Stonehenge. They also have new discovery of a astronomical stone calendar in Spain that was unearthed, I think this year.
Yes.
Oh, nice. Limestone?
Mhm.
I'm not quite sure what kind of stone it was, but it's we got a megalithic standing stones that are still standing. A lot of them.
Because like
There's also a 5,000-year-old calendar rock found in Sicily.
Nice. Like how big is that puppy?
I don't know.
Go ahead.
We got the dolmen of Guadalajara, that is the Spanish Stonehenge, circle of dozens of megalithic stones believed to date back to 5000 BC, and the current sits fully exposed on one corner in the Valedicanus Reservoir in the central province of Caceres, where authorities say the water level has dropped 28% capacity from drought right now.
Wow.
Because of the climate change, also known as the global warming crisis, which has been euphemised,
Mm-hmm.
Say the least.
which is very prominent on the poles, 5 to 10 times.
It's causing heart attacks these
Increase.
days.
Yeah, and a lot of people, having to change their schedules and stop working during the day, especially in the
Mhm.
tropical areas, because a lot of people are having heart attacks trying to work out in the day's heat and
Mhm.
dehydration.
What?
Um,
Man, I'll
yeah.
be out here in Cali, baby. We'll be working outside. Buck
We work
20.
Dry heat up
outside.
here.
$1.20 all day long. We work outside.
Right. That's right.
That's tough. That is tough.
But no, it's I was thinking about because we brought up on the show before, like the great articles of New Modern Science is coming out that's saying that there's some of these constituents of the bricks or the stone that was being made, right? This very sacred stone mixture, and that they get charged and they can hold electricity. If you put a hot wire and a ground wire in them, they have the mercurial solution that basically transfers the communication of electricity within the stone. And so I'm like, okay, sweet. So what about these very sacred sites that are also calendars and timekeeping places? If they were made with a constituent that that would have taken a charge from the sun because it's being cast by the sun all day, so could be some sort of propulsion method or something. I don't know, this is a stretch a little bit, but hey, that's what we're doing. We're out here speculating, working, weaving and all the things. So just want to throw that out there.
Absolutely.
Did you finish that article, Indy?
Yeah, they mentioned the word dolmen. Maybe that's something that could shed some light on these megalithic structures, astronomical structures.
Oh,
I'm gonna read that one of the 5,000-year-old calendar rock found in Sicily excites archaeologists. A team of researchers exploring the southern coast of Sicily have found it in gave them boners, man. Intriguing prehistoric calendar rock. That's what that statue of Thoth was. They're like, fuck, this is exciting. After you guys don't get it, huh? After conducting some empirical observations, they discovered the rising sun of the winter solstice aligns perfectly with a large hole in a rock formation on a hill near a prehistoric necropolis. They also discovered a fallen megalith would have stood directly in front of the hole. Stonehenge-like comparisons abound in the media. Seeker reports that the team came upon the 3.2-foot 0.98 millimeter diameter hole in the rock formation while surveying the area around Gela for World War II era bunkers. After noting the man-made appearance of the hole, they decided to look for its possible purpose, and a connection to the seasons made sense. The summer and winter solstices were key points in timekeeping for many prehistoric peoples. The huge Stone Age megalithic monument in Ireland known as Newgrange, the pictographs of Paint Rock in Texas, the fortress of Sexy Woman in Peru, Sacsayhuaman, and of course, the most famous of them all, Stonehenge in Wiltshire, England, are just some of the archaeological sites that have shown the interest ancient peoples had in the sun and the changing seasons. Here's a little depiction right here. However, there are many sites that have been tentatively linked to the solstices these days, and ANSA says that Professor Alberto Scuderi, a known expert in archaeoastronomy, there we go, a regional director of Italian archaeologist group GAI, suggests the team needed a scientific confirmation to support their hypothesis. So the team, consisting of archaeologists Giuseppe Laspina, Michael Curto, and Mario Bracciavinti, along with Vincenzo Madonia for technical support, used a compass, cameras, and a video camera toting drone, and waited for the sun to rise on the winter solstice. The results showed their effort was worth it. There's a little video here on YouTube. You guys want to watch it? 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
You have to share
See if-
the. You have
Let's
to
see if
stop
it loads.
sharing.
Does it
Hey,
load?
You have to. Wait, we can hear it. Oh shit! You got the audio. Good. Yeah, full screen, baby. Hit it full screen for us.
There it is.
There's the hole right there.
Trip.
Whoa.
Wow, that is fascinating.
That's
Oh,
pretty awesome.
No, here's the deal. This is what I'm feeling. Oh shit! How long is this video? Let me see.
Hold up.
2-minute video.
You want me to pause it for a second or what?
No, I mean I was just
Did you have?
okay. I'm thinking, okay, if there's all these calendars around that are built out of huge megalithic stones like this,
Mhm.
right? And even Stonehenge things, we brought it before, like places that are celestial counters. They take the time and the date. Many blessings. Then I'm thinking giants. I'm thinking this is at that culture. This might be pre-pyramid culture and right before the
Mhm.
dawning of that, or we can even get wild and say some sort of some alien species that were coming down and marking special places. Who knows?
Or
But
it
this
came
is
from
super
past
cool.
Antarctica.
Oh, past the Antarctic. See, we're not about Atlantean culture over here.
Yeah.
We're about ancient Antarctian culture.
Or the land beyond.
Yes.
Yes. There's
Yes.
the fascinating video I
Moo.
just watched earlier by Greg Braden about the star beings having come from our
Mm.
future and being us.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so it kind of explains all of the difficulties with them existing in our pressure system, with our biome,
Mhm.
and with our gravity, and just kind of effortlessly kind of walking around without a suit,
Yeah.
or being able to come here to
Mm.
craft and have us be in the same pressure system as them without them wearing a suit. So it kind of makes a lot of sense if we consider that these star beings are us. They're
Mhm.
coming back in the timeline to assist us in these trying times right now.
Mhm.
And it's
Yeah.
connected to the
Uh,
Antarctican.
to to finish up this article,
Nice.
as archaeologist Giuseppe Laspina told Seeker at 7:32 a.m., the sun shone brightly through the hole with an incredible precision. It was amazing. But that's not all they found at the site. Slightly to the east of Calendar Rock, the team discovered a 16.4 foot, 5 meter tall megalith, which had apparently fallen over. The pit at the base suggests it once stood upright. A comparison of the geological comparison of the Calendar Rock to the megalith suggests that the standing stone was brought to the site from somewhere else. This obviously reinforces the scrollity of the site. This isn't the first hold rock formation that has been linked to the solstices in Sicily. Scuderi told Seeker that 2 hold stones were found in the past near Palermo. Interestingly, Scuderi believes that the recently discovered hole was carved by the same people who made those holes. One lined up with the rising sun at the winter solstice, the other produced the same effect with the rising sun at the summer solstice, Scuderi said. For this reason, I believe that another hold calendar stone marking the summer solstice may be found near Gela. Giulio Magli, professor of archaeoastronomy at Milan's Polytechnic University, told Seeker that the new find is interesting, but has called for more scientific measurements to be taken at the site. He said, we should have not considered the whole stones as precise calendars or instruments to observe the sun's cycles, but rather monuments that provided information on the solstices for practical and agricultural purposes. And that's it.
Amazing.
So somebody recently I was listening to said that the sunrise should be 0 hour.
I like that.
Okay, that's I'm gonna weave this into here. So back to this awesome book that everybody should get, and I'm not joking. Get this fucking book. It's called The Greek Kabbalah.
Mhm.
It goes into a lot of calendar stuff, and they even have exactly everything by hour, and it's planetary association by the hour of the day, as well as the weeks that we went through earlier, where we realized that Tuesday was the day of Mercury and Isis and Osiris that follows the moon day. So that's fucking cool. Okay, so let's see here. It is worth noting here that the planets were also assigned to the 24 hours of the day, and this arrangement determined the order of the days in our week, as explained by O. Neugebauer, The Exact Sciences in Antiquity. The Greek system follows the model which arranges the planets in depth according to their periods of sidereal rotation. This is reflected even in the arrangement of the days of the planetary weeks, which we still use today. Here the sun placed between Mars and Venus, and the moon below Mercury. Every one of the 24 hours of a day is given a ruler following the sequence, beginning, e.g., with the sun for the first hour one obtains. Hour 1 is the sun, hour 2 is Venus, hour 3 Mercury, hour 4 moon, hour 5 Saturn, and then it changes. So day 2 would be hour 1 is the moon, hour 2 Saturn, hour 3, and then day 3 is, Mars, so on and so forth. So their calendars were so intricate that each day would have a different hour association. And so I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, and like we get now, just because we're rehashing, we're relearning about all these ancient deities, right? And we've been basically filtered through centuries of bastardization of history, basically, that our touch with the spirits and the deities is kind of very wish-washy. Anywho, that being said, when we look at deities, right, we'll be like, oh, they're so cool, like Hermes is so awesome, Mercury, Aphrodite, all these things. But it was very sacred to a time, and you needed to, that rotated, because as the constant movement and change within our body and our spirit and our mind and all these things constantly goes and grows, then you change your focus, and then whoever you are in tune with, that deity that you're getting in tune with in that time, if you're connected and following these sacred cycles, then I guess it might help you with your practice or your meditation or whatever you needed to have happen in your life. So I think that's really interesting. It's kind of what this book gets into. And I'm just going to continue this last chapter and then I'm done. Last paragraph, sorry. The ruler of the first hour is then considered to be the ruler of the day, and thus one obtains for 7 consecutive days the following rulers: the sun, the moon, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn, which is a sequence of because this is also way before Pluto, right? This is ancient Greece, which is the sequence of the days of the week, and also the arrangement of the planets in Hindu astronomy. Here we have a system which is obviously Greek in origin, not only because it is based on the arrangement of the celestial bodies according to their distance from the earth, but also because it supposes a division of the day into 24 hours, a form of reckoning which is not only Babylonian, but a Hellenistic product of ultimately Egyptian origin. It is totally misleading when this order is called Chaldean in modern literature. The 7-day week, which took its arrangement from the 7 planets, came into widespread use in the Mediterranean world only during the 1st and 2nd centuries CE. M.H. Farbridge has noted that the importance of the number 7 in Greek and Semitic symbolism predates the astrological conception of a group of 7 planets as opposed to 5. And that, therefore, the 7-day week probably originated from dividing the lunar month of 28 days into quarters into different parts of the Roman Empire. The names of the days followed different sequences in accordance with various astrological schemes. But Sunday eventually became established as the first day of the week when the Emperor Constantine recognized it as the official day of rest in 321 CE. Not surprisingly, the days of the week were also subject to numerological interpretation in terms of Pythagorean number symbolism. According to their sequence, thus John Lytus, a civil surgeon and antiquarian who lived during the first half of the 6th century CE in the late Roman Empire or the Byzantine Age, used Pythagorean sources to associate the 4th day with the 4th planet, the tetrad, the 4 positions of the sun, and the 4 phases of the moon. The connection between the vowels and the planets immediately made these 7 Greek letters part of a vast range of planetary sympathies used in ancient astrology, alchemy, and magic, including incense, hey, hit me up, precious stones, metals, flowers, herbs, colors, musical notes, emotions, virtues, and vices. Alchemy, for instance, which originated in Hellenistic Egypt, was among the major contributors of the extensive system of Kabbalistic correspondences, which the letters of the alphabet were part. The works of the early Hellenistic alchemists show strong influences from magic and Gnosticism, and were often filled with strange symbols or were deliberately written in cryptic alphabets, as noted by the French scientist, the Marcellin Berthelot, in the study of chemistry in the ancient world. Okay, this is the last paragraph, I swear. By connection established between metals and planets, drawn from the fact that they were alike in luster, color, and number. When the join to the late discovery, an earlier one, that is the number 7, a sacred number which one finds everywhere in the days of the week, the number of the planets, their heavenly zones, the corresponding metals, the colors, the strings of the lyre and their musical notes, the vowels of the Greek alphabet, and also in the number of the stars, the Great Bear, the sages of Greece, and the gates of Thebes, and the leaders who besieged them after Aeschylus. Yeah, I could keep reading because this book is fucking amazing, but that was just a little weave there.
It's like when I come into your life, it's either you're gonna have your
So Constantine said the day of rest should be Sunday. Gosh, not Moses? Wow. Weird, huh? And it was the first day. And I don't know, but like the last 7th day was the day of rest in the Moses account. So I thought that was very interesting that didn't come in until AD, when they're trying to tell us, somebody's trying to tell us that the calendar as we know it with 7 days was, God given way back at the very beginning. And so it made me think of going back to some of these other things. How much is our calendar actually messing us up these days? Like, is the calendar now being used to disconnect us from who we are? Because when we put women on the pill, we don't link it to the moon. We link it to the wherever, just start today or whatever, to get the women off of the same cycle and off of the moon cycle, and just all of that, all that whole entire realm is just swirling right now in my head.
Yeah, I love that, and that's basically like, I think what we can allude to here at the heartbeat of this conversation, and is that there was a reason why these specific people in power, were changing the calendars. It was, it's history, right? And history is written by the winners or what have you.
The biggest bully.
Yeah. And so yeah, and then guess what happens, right? Every time
Mhm.
that a place will get conquered or whatever, it's a terrible word for lack of a better term. Um, all of
Or
their esoteric and sacred knowledge gets hijacked by the conquistadors or whoever, by the Vatican, right? And then they'll demonize everything that they were doing whilst they steal all of their sacred
Mhm.
sacred things that they were using and
Knowledge.
ceremonial
Yeah.
things and knowledge. And so
Mhm.
then they just give us the skewed point of that. And that's why I think this calendars conversation is actually really important.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, let me get into this article here. Maybe we'll shine some more light on that.
Yes.
This is also from
Mhm.
Ancient Origins by John Black. Linking the planets and human life. Venus calendars help track pregnancy in Neolithic Greece.
Mhm.
Back in 4000 BC, women of the ancient Aegean civilization may have used a calendar tracking the movement of the planet Venus to follow their pregnancy milestones. This is an intriguing explanation for the use of the so-called frying pans left by people who lived in Neolithic Greece. These objects have decorations of concentric circles, spirals, radial patterns, and sometimes rowing vessels. It has been suggested that the frying pan shape was a symbolic Venus to Circus, a okay. Venus to Circus, a professor of space physics, believes the artifacts were used as calendars and show astronomical calculations of the orbits of Venus, Jupiter, Mars, and the Sun. This would have allowed the ancient people to link the events in human activity with their environment and astronomical occurrences. I want to go up to this frying pan and the spiral decorations. That's pretty cool.
Mhm.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah,
What in
it
the
looks
world
like a
did you
seat
fry in it?
almost, doesn't it?
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
zoom in a little bit on that?
It looks much more like a chair seat than a frying pan.
Yeah, I can't
It is.
zoom in on it actually, but
Wait, what did they say this is made out of? Sorry.
this spiral decoration with incised pubic triangle, National Museum of Athens. They call it a frying pan.
Because I'm looking at it,
doesn't
I'm
say what it's
thinking
made of.
the magic mirrors of ancient China, how they would basically etch on
Oh,
to the back of the mirrors to reflect the hologram through where the sun was hitting it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And so,
Maybe.
I mean, maybe that's why I'm wondering what material this is, because then that would give us a little limelight.
yeah.
Dude, the ads on this whatever
It looks
website
like a
you're on is
stone.
hilarious.
Mhm.
Like, what? So random.
Yeah.
Dude, that doesn't look like a frying
know.
pan. And if it
It
is
looks
a
like
frying
a
pan,
seat.
Mhm.
it does. Looks like a lot
Yeah.
of things and not a frying pan.
Definitely not a frying pan.
That's where you know you're getting trolled by the archaeologists. You're like, yeah, so then they have this frying pan. You're like,
Well, it's okay. Everything they find is
Professor-
also a religious symbol. So, we gotcha.
Absolutely.
Professor Tserkis research also suggests that the Neolithic people living in what is now Greece realized that the Earth takes 365 days to complete a circuit around the Sun. Venus needs 584 days, and Jupiter 399. Ooh, look at that picture. That's cool. Moreover, it appears that the planet Venus was associated with a biological cycle of pregnancy. This planet appears before sunrise for 263 days, approximately 9 moon months, and after sunset, another 265 days. This means that half a Venus cycle is approximately 9 months, the length of time for a human pregnancy. That's pretty interesting. The relationship between the frying pans and pregnancy is strengthened by the appearance of symbols such as the female pubic triangle and uterus engraved on the artifacts. Women could have used the calendars to check if they were pregnant and also track important movements in their pregnancy. Interesting. The clay frying pan vessel with incised decoration of a ship found at
What?
Giuliani on Syros Island. Early Cycladic II period Karo-Syros culture, 2800 to 2300 BC, and Cycladic frying pan with a decoration of impressed and incised star and stamped concentric circles and an incised female pubic triangle above the handle. National
Dude,
Museum of Athens.
This is insane. This is tying in to our entire paranormal ufological month here, because what I'm looking at is clearly a version of a craft, and they're putting nebulous star patterns on it, and then putting ships on it, and look at the shape of it. Insane.
But we'll call it a frying pan for fun.
We'll call it a frying pan. No one would ever. This is the. I mean,
it's a religious artifact called a frying pan.
oh my goodness, ancient.
Definitely
omelets.
kind of looks like the SS Enterprise.
Scramble your eggs.
Well, I mainly only say that too.
Well, it is
because
for eggs, so maybe that's why it's a frying pan, right? It's for
Yeah.
Yeah.
cycles.
Oh yeah, no. If we had Gabe here, he
Ovulation.
would get on that the placenta kick
Oh, yeah.
with that. You
Oh,
know.
yeah. Where's Gabe?
So we got to give credit to that. There, you know.
I also
because
saw
we're talking-
LC King. I saw
Mhm.
LC King in the chat. If he wants to pop on,
Yeah,
feel
I
free,
posted
dude.
the link. I posted the link here in the chat, so everybody get on board. Everybody.
This is not the only evidence of people having had advanced astronomical knowledge in the area at that time. The famous Antikythera mechanism demonstrates this information as well.
Magic frying
You guys know
pan.
about the Antikythera. I know Roman's been talking
Flying
about the Antikythera lately. So, yeah,
pans,
it's
frying
this.
pans.
Flying pan.
The Antikythera mechanism was discovered in 1900 during the recovery of a shipwreck of the Greek island Antikythera. In water 60 meters deep, it is a metallic device which consists of a complex combination of gears and dates back to the 2nd century BCE. X-rays have shown that there are at least 30 different types of gears used in the device, and on the mechanism's door plates are about 2,000 letters that are considered to be something like a usage manual. There are references of such mechanisms in the works of ancient writers, and in his writing, Cicero mentions an instrument which reproduces the motions of the sun and the 5 planets. The device, he claimed, was built by Archimedes. For the last few decades, scientists have utilized the latest technology in attempts to decipher its functionality. However, due to its complexity, they have previously been unable to explain its function. Now theories are being proposed by researchers. Some consider the Antikythera mechanism to be the first human-made analog computer potentially used for purposes ranging from calculating the positions of celestial bodies to determining with accurate precision solar and lunar eclipses. However, the full functionality of the mechanism and its intended use are yet to be deciphered.
So it's okay. I'm going to bring it back to what I was saying earlier about constituents of these specific pieces of technology. Now, the Antikythera mechanism, them calling it the oldest example of an analog computer, dating back to the ancient Olympic Games in ancient Greece. Okay? Let's think about this for a fucking second. Gears, rotating. Are they having somebody spin it all day, or it's automated? Is it water powered? We know that the ancient Greeks had water powered organs, right? Like musical instruments. We know that they had great advancements, and they had batteries. Thank you. That's what I'm getting at, right?
Mhm.
So the Antikythera mechanism is incredibly important, actually, because it's so an orrery, this is what it said it was, right? Imagine this. An orrery is this mechanism that has these moving gears underneath that moves the planets like this. It's kind of like a version of an astronomical clock, but it's a 3D model of it because, you know, they were only observing the stars and understanding astronomy And so they were started to make 3D models out of it. But that is a tabletop version here. The one they had is a gear of something on a lot larger of a scale.
Yeah, it's got an astrological aspect to it as well.
Exactly. Like that is nuts. That is nuts. But yeah, so I don't even know how. Thank you, Dan, for getting off on that there. The frying pan thing, we're gonna have to get into that because frying pan, like you said, Stacy.
Flying pan.
And that kind of brings the thought, Freya.
Why?
Or pan.
Or
Because
pan.
we're talking about Venus, which is also known as Friday or Venus Day after Freya. And
Thanks,
I
Juan.
don't think there's a direct connection between Freya and frying, but there's definitely some associations there in the sound of it. There might be
I
a
thought
connection.
I was
to that.
your daddy.
But cooking being associated with the sacred feminine. In the hunter and gathering times, women were responsible for collecting the vegetation for us, and we would maybe get some meat, but they would be bringing it all together, putting all the herbs in there, getting it on the frying pan, and making it a meal. You know?
Yeah.
So
okay. So if they weren't eating as much as they were back in the day, and they were using, here we go. Okay. No, this is too much of a stretch. Okay. So we're talking about plasma energy, right? The theory of the golden age period is that the Earth was getting a lot more plasma radiation because the solar system was going through its changes, or the Earth's atmosphere was different, less density. So there was just more plasma energy coming through. So that's where like the talk of breatharians comes in, right? They were just breathing. Well, they weren't just breathing. They were getting other sustenance. It was just we can't really understand. So I'm like, okay, frying pan. Maybe you got the plasma, you got the placenta. They're cooking that up. Who knows? That's the womb juice. If the atmosphere is the womb of the planet, we're living and swimming within the placenta of Gaia herself.
absolutely.
We're in the womb, and the next stage is being born.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And to tie that in, pie. I'm having some pizza pie my lady made earlier, but pie actually comes from the Greek for thirst, which is associated with the circle and the mathematical equation to explain the circle. It's also the etymology of the word vampire, blood drinking, blood thirst.
What?
Vampire.
We got someone else coming in. Hey. Vampire.
What's up?
That is insane.
Yeah. Hey, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Ronan.
How you doing, man?
Bird dog.
Konnichiwa.
Yeah, konnichiwa. Dude, yeah, man, I don't want to interrupt you guys on a roll. Just crushing it. The slow burn every Sunday, man. It's an honor to be.
Yep.
Thanks, man.
Dude, I popped into your live stream on Friday, man. That was pretty fun. There's some cool cats on there too, man.
Oh, dude, we got some powerful beings that show up Friday evening, and the beauty is, there's no script, there's no nothing, and it always seems to work out, and we always seem to get just naturally, organically into awesome, weird content and info. It's great. It's beautiful. You know?
I love it. I love that there's all that's popping up, you know, like it's so great. Like I used to hate the internet, you know, I was like, I don't want technology, I don't want any of these things, but it's moments like this and shows like yours and, you know, the spiders and all that. Like it really, I don't know. It breaks my mind sometimes to think about reality in such a way.
Well, what I say all the time, my friends, is especially now, and it's relevant to the topics that's going on, that's being discussed here tonight, is to include the realm is changing. You can look at even the Schumann resonance. You can measure that with man-made equipment for those that need that type of credentials, so to speak. And when you're on certain frequencies, you're on certain vibes, we are being attracted to each other. I know we all feel isolated and alone, but we're just attracting to each other, whether it's rising from the ashes. And my man, I was checking out your blog. It's beautiful. Whether it's Interverse, whether it's whoever, we are a minority, but we are small but powerful. And
Are we a minority? Or have we just been led to believe we're a minority by separation and now we're finding each other?
I hear you, Stacy. Much love, by the way, to you. I honestly feel that we're a minority. That's just because, when I'm in the field, let me tell you, I think we're a minority, but you know what I'm saying? But we're powerful, so that's why I feel that's why I always talk, Romy. I'm always trying to unite the tribes.
Yes.
And,
Good vibes.
Yes.
good vibes. And those that resonate with this type of information, it's going to resonate with them. I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. You're either into this or you want to go, you're not. That's fine. I love connecting these dots, and you guys deep dive, and Danny Naki Dan, and I'm a Box Saga fan too, man. You combine all these different things, and you're like, dude, connecting the dots is beautiful. And to chime in earlier, I believe that yes, this ancient wisdom has been hijacked. It has been diluted. It is on purpose to control that information so that we cannot truly unlock our greatness. Really, my whole goal is to help everyone. Imagine we all unlock our greatness. And I feel like the goal is to not allow us to unlock our greatness. But imagine that.
Crack us like an egg.
Crack us like an egg.
On the frying pan.
On the ancient omelets. I want an ancient omelet, dude. I bet you that tastes delicious.
I want an ancient omelet of the Orphic egg, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Put us on a vampire.
So I love these. I love these. All you guys. I just love everyone in this info. I find it practical.
Yeah.
Even when you look in the old, even like any ancient scripts, they find, people were taller and larger, and they lived longer, and we just get shorter and have shorter lifespans. And the takeover of time with Kronos and him and them eating its, all the mythos information. It has been a hijacking of time. And to wrap up, I won't keep going on and on, but when you control time, it's a commerce thing, like the Byzantines, and just, I only know what day it is because I know I have a bill to pay in like a couple days. That's literally the only reason I know what day it is. So it's literally a construct to control you to go, it's a business calendar. It's based on business, not on spiritual, not on nature. And if it's not replicated in nature, it's false, in my opinion. But
calendars originally didn't have
Cheers.
Didn't have
Nice.
a week system. There wasn't a system of weeks, and the only days off that people got were the holidays, the holy days, the feast days were the days that they had days off, because the rest of the time they were conducting business and working. So I wanted to bring into account the Mayan calendar and the similarity to the ancient Chinese, and a possible early contact, because the way that they have some of, like the calendar discs are pretty interesting and similar to each other. So this is from Ancient Origins, the Mayan calendar similar to ancient Chinese, by Tara Makasak from the Epic Times. Ancient Mayan and Chinese calendars systems share so many similarities, it is unlikely they developed independently, according to the late David H. Kelly, whose paper on the subject was published posthumely in August. Kelly was a Harvard-educated archaeologist and epigrapher at the University of Calgary in Canada. He earned fame in the 1960s for major contributions to the deciphering of the Mayan script. His article titled "Asian Components in the Invention of the Mayan Calendar" was written 30 years ago, but was only recently unearthed and published for the first time in the journal Pre-Columbiana. In 1980, a major science journal had solicited the article, said Pre-Columbia's editor, Dr. Stefan Jett, but Jett said the editors rejected it as being overly documented for the journal's spare format. Understandably, for so revolutionary an effort, David did not wish to weaken the documentation and never published this piece elsewhere. Jett obtained Kelly's permission to publish it before he died. The hypothesis Kelly presented is controversial. He said that the calendars indicate contact between Eurasia and Mesoamerica more than 1,000 years ago, contradicting mainstream archaeology's understanding that such contact occurred for the first time only a few hundred years ago. Kelly supported the controversial theory of early transoceanic contact in general. It is a theory that has many other academic proponents, and that Pre-Columbiana specializes in exploring these similarities in the calendar systems is only part of the growing body of evidence for early contact. Kelly also isn't the only one who noticed the similarities between the calendar systems, but given his authority as an expert on Mayan history, his analysis is a pillar on which to base further study. Another researcher who coincidentally has the same name but with a different middle initial, David B. Kelly, his whole name will be used to avoid confusion throughout the article. Kelly will only be used to refer to David H. Kelly, has used a computer program to further analyze the similarities between the two calendar systems. David B. Kelly is an East Asian linguist at Showa Women's University in Tokyo. His paper titled "Comparing Chinese and Mesoamerican Calendar Dates" was also published in a recent issue of Pre-Columbiana. The similarities in both calendar systems, the days are associated with various elements: water, fire, earth, and so on, and animals. While the various associations don't line up perfectly between the two systems, they do frequently correspond. Some of the difference may be accounted by changes over time. The same root calendar system may have been tweaked by each culture in different ways. We'll explore only a couple similarities mentioned by Kelly and David B. Kelly as examples. So here's a Chinese zodiac calendar. And here's a Mayan zodiac calendar. And it says animals. The same days in the Mayan and Chinese calendars associated with deer, dog, and the monkey. Other days also closely match, through the correspondence is not exact. The same days in the Mayan and Chinese calendars are associated with the deer, dog, and the monkey. For example, one day is associated with a jaguar in the Mayan calendar, but with a tiger in the Chinese. Another is associated with a crocodile in the Mayan, but the dragon in the Chinese. The associations may essentially be the same, though specific manifestations may differ based on local fauna or lore. Old World domesticates such as the horse, sheep, and cow, pig are also missing from the Mayan calendar. Another example of the similarity between Mesoamerican Chinese calendar is the combined symbolism of the rabbit and the moon. The Aztec day 8, rabbit, was ruled by May-Auel, goddess of the moon and of intoxicating cactus drink, pulque. Kelly wrote, representations of the rabbit and the moon are first seen in Mesoamerica around the 6th century AD. Pictures of the rabbit in the moon pounding out the elixir of immortality are Chinese favorites, first appearing in Han, China in the 1st century BC or slightly earlier. So I guess this is a depiction of a rabbit in the moon, which is pretty interesting. Aztec carving of a rabbit. Kelly
Kind of looks like
concluded
that
the
frying
animals.
pan shape again.
Oh,
Yeah,
rabbit and
definitely does,
UFO symbology, though,
Mhm.
man. I just have to say it. I have to say it. There's so much rabbit UFO symbology, dude. Like the antenna ears and the whole fertility thing, like, is funny because if there was like genetic manipulation and all the things. But anyways, please continue. This is cool. I like this weave, man.
Mhm.
We have these 4 circles right here at the top.
Mhm.
I'm wondering kind of what that represents, but Kelly concluded that animal names in the Mayan calendar system are clearly derived from a prototypical form of Euro-Asian expanded list. The Chinese system also corresponds to this Eurasian list. Across the ancient Old World, calendar systems intermingled. Kelly thus looked at Greek, Indian, and other systems as examples of how the calendars in different cultures have similar roots, but take on slightly different forms. This helped him understand the similarities and differences between the Chinese and the Mayan calendars, and to infer that they both ultimately have the same source and did not develop independently. It also shows that where elements of the Mayan calendar diverge from the Chinese, they may still align with other Eurasian systems, supporting the theory of early contact. Let me scroll down. Elements. David B. Kelly used the computer program Intercal, developed by Caltech astronomer Dennis Elliott, to find matches between the Mayan day associations and the Chinese elements of fire, water, earth, metal, and wood. At first, he didn't find many matches for these elements, though he did find correlations in animal associations, as Kelly did. But when he slightly tweaked the parameters of his comparison, he found a lot more overlap. Some background explanation is necessary here. The start date of the Mayan calendar has been a matter of debate. No one knows for sure when it started, though it is commonly held that it began on August 11th, 3114 BC. David B. Kelly stated that with this assumption, he found 9 matches between the two systems within any given 60-day period, all related to day names and animal associations. But then he tried shifting the start date slightly when he shifted it by 4 days to August 7th, 3114. The matches increased from 9 to 30 any 60-day period, and the matches included the elements. The accuracy of this comparison has some limitations aside from the tweak in start date. Elliott warned that this program would become increasingly accurate the further back in time one used to analyze dates. Yet David B. Kelly wrote, in spite of the lack of the solid match, the possibility of some of these symmetric relationships between certain Mesoamerican day names and both the Chinese heavenly hymns, elements, and earthly branches, animal associations, is tantalizing, to say the least. If indeed it can be demonstrated that there is a reasonable degree of relevance for the idea that the Mesoamerican calendar system may be related, even in some minor way, to the Chinese calendar system, then opportunity to test the Mesoamerican calendrical calculations against a known system, i.e. Chinese, become available, he said. This is not to mention implications for ancient contact between Old World and here's the Maya calendar, the 20 Nawals and 20 days for each month. So we have a whole calendar here of 20 days of 13 months, which equals 260 days. Symbolism, association, not an exact science. That's about all I'm going to read of that article. But just goes to show you, remember there is the Olmec, and some people believe that maybe they have Asian origin. So maybe the Olmec were around in Mexico and they brought a calendar system with them, perhaps. That's speculation on my part, but
I was reading this morning, got stuck in a rabbit hole and I needed to pull had to pull myself out because it was not related to the calendar stuff. But there's talk in the old Vedic text that Antarctica and the South Americas were very much a big a big part of the Hindu story, that they knew the Americas were there. They described what they looked like. They described the geographical description of the land itself. And I just thought that was fascinating. And they have a word for it. And I feel like I'm probably going to not remember what it is, but it's super interesting. Because the word itself that they gave what they call the Americas, it meant like inside, or like something amongst, like in the caverns. And so who knows, like, you know, because a lot of the talk of the ancient Vedic text could be like that could be antediluvian time, you know, could very well be antediluvian stories. Could be pre-flood, pre-deluge. So if that's the case, and there were more land bridges between Asia and the Americas, like the Alaska-Russia land bridge, which connects Americas to Asia, basically. You know, and then the island chains down below, the Indian Ocean. So you start to look at it that way and say, okay, maybe there was a lot more happening here in the Americas connection to the old world than we thought to believe.
Absolutely. And the lost continent of Mu. Oh, go ahead.
Exactly.
Like all the Polynesian islands, and obviously the jet stream goes kind of north to south along that west coast of, so it's very easy to navigate that on a ship. I mean, you've got, I shared something in the private chat. Easter Island has a lunar calendar. I mean, let's just, I don't mean to take it back to the basics, and I'll be quiet, but I mean, obviously you're going to time things on the moon. If I say meet me at this moon phase, it's just the basics. You can tell when to meet, when to meet up and when to do stuff. Super easy.
Because of the moon cycles, you can see a crescent or a half moon or whatnot, and it's always in the sky at night, so you know whether it's hard to judge by the sun, because the sun doesn't go through noticeable changes as the moon does, which is probably why they started with a lunar calendar and then revised it to include the solar.
And every architecture in the old school is based on whether it's celestial positionings, also sound. I mean, this is just, I love how we're digging deep, but it's just like, how could you not see that the old school people knew so much? Now, I mean, you build something, they don't take into account anything, any solstices or anything. Go ahead, Indigo. I didn't mean to interrupt you earlier.
Oh, you're good, brother. Thank you for that, man. That was very insightful. Yeah, you're bringing a lot to the table here for the team. We really appreciate this.
I bring basics. Basics.
Take it, man. Yeah, I was gonna do a little rant on the lost continent of Mu, which was said to have crashed under the Pacific Ocean around 12,000 years ago, and it's currently known as Lemuria. But what do we have here? We got Avon Tyrell House. Are you bringing that up, Roman? I can go on with the Mu thing.
Go ahead, go, dude.
Yeah.
he doesn't pay attention.
The land of Mu ties back to an early date of Augustus Le Plongeon, who was around before the 1900s came into being, discussing Mu. Later, Philip Sclater came around, and he's from around 1864, I guess. So it's around a similar time they were talking about Lemuria, but he tied in the name Lemuria to the lemur from Madagascar, thinking that there was a lost continent there that connected the Indian Ocean, which Mu is more associated with the Pacific Ocean lost continent. And there's actually an older name. If you look back at the Tamil, there's actually a lost continent called Kumari Kandam, the lost continent of Oceania, where Indonesia and Australia and New Zealand kind of all tie up through Japan, the Bering Strait, and bring us all the way around to like the Catalina Islands. And having been like a large continent that was, when the sea levels were lower, the continental shelf was exposed, and we're finding a lot of these ruins like Yonaguni in Japan that show
Mhm.
that there was actually
Mhm.
more of a land bridge connecting us and the transoceanic culture that was existing back then. So they might have had like a common root culture that was just splintered off and then diverged from.
Yes, and that's why I love. I mean, it's so thick and dense that I can't really even begin to slice through the giant wedge of cheese that is the ancient Vedic text. But when you find out just like that little piece of it, where it's just like, oh, they had a name for the American continents, like, like you're just like, okay, well, that just shows you right there. I mean, either way, even if they were, going through on boats, like you were saying, but we know that those lands were above water at time and the sea levels rising. So, I love it. I love it. And the moo stuff with the bunny correlations.
Yeah.
Because the
I mean,
moon, so like the moon and the bunny and the moo, the land of moo. Yeah, man, it's Lemuria, Lemuria,
The rabbit and the moon.
Yeah.
Wonderful musicians coming out of Florida. I think they're from Tampa. Rabbit and the Moon. I've seen those
Oh.
live so many times. They're amazing.
Yeah.
You haven't
Oh,
seen
cool.
them yet.
I'll have to
Yeah.
look that up.
They have a good Smashing Pumpkins remix.
There's a lot of
Nice.
rabbit holes on the moon.
Yeah, there are.
That's hilarious.
That's for sure.
So earlier I didn't realize my mic was muted. That's why I couldn't respond. But we
Yeah.
were looking at the Avon Tyrell house, which is
Yeah.
it's called a calendar house. So back in the Renaissance period, obsessed with astronomy, magic, and alchemy, and all these things. It's got a really dense history. The family that built this house, going all the way back to the 11th century. But I found this really good paper on this, and I just wanted to read this for one of my closing pieces here. The origins for the Renaissance England. The genesis of the modern calendar house appears to have been in the intellectually fertile Elizabethan period, when the elite of society reveled in the advances of science, mathematics, and astronomy. They also had a great love of the device, which in the 16th century meant any ingenious or original shape or concept. Elizabethan scholars were familiar with Platonic concepts that the world was constructed according to number, and that number contained meaning and revealed time. One of the most famous astronomically and symbolically potent buildings of the late Elizabeth period was the Tresham Lodge, built in 1594. This was a triangular construction designed according with the principles of the number 3, probably accorded to Girard, with assistance from the Cambridge mathematician and astronomer John Fletcher. It is plausible that such a symbolically aware milieu gave rise to the idea of the calendar house. The original known example of a calendar house is the Knoll House in Kent in southeast England, dating from 1604, just a decade after the Tresham Lodge. The calendar is represented through the building's 365 rooms, 52 staircases, 7 courtyards. Renaissance Platonism was inspired of the translations of the Platonic and Hermetic text, dating from the 5th century BCE to the 5th century CE, which brought Near Eastern and classical magical cosmology to 15th and 16th century Europe. And just wanted to touch on the house real quick. The description of the calendar house. The key study of the 19th century family house, the Avon Tyrell house, which was designed and built in 1891, is a large family residence in New Forest, a little way north of Southampton in southern England. The house first building designed by William Richard Letheby, who has popped in and out of some studies before, the Letheby. My study of Avon Tyrell House was prompted in the description of the building notice board of the main public rooms as a calendar house. The notice explained that the house includes 365 windows, one for each day of the year, 52 rooms, one for each of the week of the year, 12 chimneys, one for each month, and 7 ground floor doors, one for each day of the week. We were also told that the sun shines through every room. The main bedrooms, including the original master bedroom and the gardens, therefore receive the maximum amount of sunlight. The Avon Tyrell house may therefore be considered a modern solar house. The theory of harmony, the construction of the built environment in order to harmonize with, reflect, or embody the cosmos and or sky appears to date to the earliest known architecture. For example, in the British Isles, where the Avon Tyrrell House is situated, these design tradition dates back to the Neolithic by creating spaces where we're connected to the celestial bodies. It is believed that it was possible for ancient builders to create human communities which were linked to celestial reference, encouraging social stability and harmony. The evidence suggests that traditions of cosmic building appear to be as old as settled human life, and as Colin Renfrew said of Stonehenge, seems to represent a deliberate attempt to align the human society in question with the cosmos. Such ideas underpin traditions of the foundation of the cities from China through India, through Middle China, East and Mesoamerica. The rationale can often be seen as reflective. The Chao Chun Sun argued that in China, the universe was conceived not as an object independent of man, but as a counterpart and a mirror of human society. While Trudy Griffin Pierce talked of pattern mirroring between sky and earth in native North American cosmology and Plato's Republic, Socrates argues that the city and soul are structurally isomorphic so that individual city and cosmos are all connected. The city that becomes what we might call a cosmogram or a cosmopolis, in which the inhabitants and the society as a whole benefit because in institutions and behavior are harmonized with the heavens and in a reciprocal harmonious relationship. The theory of power. The relationship between astronomy and power is often treated as one of those people in positions of authority apply their astronomical knowledge in order to control and manipulate those who they control. As Steve McCluskey pointed out in relation to Mesoamerica, astronomical observation and the knowledge were signs of sacred power and status. Clive Ruggles argued that from ancient Babylon to China, Mexico, and Peru, from empire and city-state to tribe, astronomical information was gathered, recorded, used by those interests lay as much of the spheres of status, enforcement, and political ideology as in predicting rainy seasons or planning agricultural schedules. Elaborating on this argument and using the pre-Columbian Mesoamerican application of the movements of Venus to regulate warfare, Clive Ruggles described the manner in which astronomical knowledge can function as a resource that can be brought to bear in support of dominant ideology to reaffirm and reinforce the structures of a particular society. No doubt there is some truth in the perspective that it resonates with the Gramscian theory of hegemony. What the fuck?
Hegemony.
Hegemony. I don't know what that is. Let's translate it real quick here. Oi. Oh my god, it took me off the thing. That's crazy. I'm so sorry, everybody. What a turd. Okay. In which their ideology, rather than physical force, serves as a tool of repression in the Gramscian sense. In terms of theory of space, Dave Van Sujic encompasses this model of the world in his analysis of the phenomenon whereby powerful people construct monumental structures, including the relevance to this paper, Saddam Hussein's reconstruction of Babylonian sites. In this sense, monumental architecture is used as an instrument of state power to reinforce a cosmology in which the leader has interposed between the mass of the population and their ability to control their destinies. Damn, that paper went deep.
Mm-hmm.
That was fabulous.
Yeah.
Wow. So calendar houses, man, like the architecture, up to the brutalist architecture, here within the last century. Even up until the 19th century, they were this like kind of cool celestial knowledge was being taken place in the buildings of people's homes to encapsulate all of the celestial energies within your home. Imagine such a splendid dwelling to have all of the celestial energies being encompassed in that intentionally,
something I've seen is not just the building structure itself, but the around the building, like geopolymers
Uh-huh.
around the building itself.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, my whole yard might be a field of geopolymers with the structure based on that, and just imagine that resonation. It's
Yes.
aligned. Oh,
I love it. No,
Yeah.
geopolymers, man. I didn't even bring that up. That's fantastic and absolutely just right on
the
fucking point.
landscaping, like, okay, so you have that, but imagine this guy who we just read, and then he you got the house and the structure, then you have the land. He could terraform the land in a way that also the trees, the garden, and make it align in some way, right? And then you just the feng shui, so to speak.
So
Oh.
I was just reading this thing and I shared it on the Telegram group. So anybody watching who's not on the Telegram group, get over there. But Leonardo da Vinci was one of the curators of the star forts or the star cities, and so he was working in his and what he called his famous book called the Codex Atlanticus, which just makes you think of Atlantis, right? Just hearing it, the Codex Atlanticus. He has that in that is a complex design for a completely inhabitable city that is so sustainable. The city itself is shape of a geometric, like sacred geometry. Like I posted a picture of one of the cities in Italy that remains from that, where they took the concepts of Da Vinci's work and put it into that star fort. We know now that the star forts are being told that they were used for battle, which could very well maybe true. I do think battles went there, but also talking about geopolymers, talking about shape, talking about resonance, talking about the cohesion of inhabitants of celestial energies and building observatories and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like it ties in, man. This shit is crazy, man. Dan, please go.
Ancient smart cities. That's what I call them.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad,
good
though,
one.
but
That's a good one.
Here we go. We have been talking about a lot of the BC time period, but to bring it to the Romans and how we got our new calendar, and maybe what the months mean and whatnot. So this is from Ancient Origins. Also, where do the names of our months come from? Our lives run on the Roman time. Birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, and public holidays are all regulated by Pope Gregory VIII's Gregorian calendar, which itself a modification of Julius Caesar's calendar, introduced in 45 BC. The names of our month are therefore derived from the Roman gods, leaders, festivals, and numbers. If you ever wondered why our 12-month year ends with September, October, November, and December, names which mean 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th months, you can blame the Romans. It's your fault, Roman. The calendar of Romulus. The Roman year originally had 10 months, a calendar which was ascribed to the legendary first king Romulus. Tradition had it that Romulus named the first month Martius after his own father Mars, the god of war. The month was followed by Aprilis, Maius, and Lunius, names derived from deities or aspects of Roman culture. Therefore, however, the months were simply called the 5th month Quintilis, 6th month Sextilis, and so on, all the way through the 10th month December. Here's a little depiction of Mars and Rhea. The institution of 2 additional months, Janarius and Februarius, at the beginning of the year was attributed by Numa, the second king of Rome. Despite the fact that there were now 12 months in the Roman year, the numerical names of the later months were left unchanged. Gods and rituals. While January takes its name from Janus, the Roman god of beginnings and endings, February comes from the word februm, purification, and februa, the rites or instruments used for purification. These form part of the preparations for coming of spring in the northern hemisphere. The Fabrua included spelt and salt for cleaning houses, leaves worn by priests, and strips of goat skin. These strips were put to good use in the festival of Lupercalia, held each year on February 15th. Young men, naked except for a goatskin cape, dashed around Rome's sacred boundary, playful, whipping women with strips. This ancient nudity Rome was designated to purify the city and promote fertility. Here's a little depiction of that. And the origins of some months were debated even by the Romans themselves. One tradition had it that Romulus named April after the goddess Aphrodite, who was born from the sea's foam. Aphros, in ancient Greek, Aphrodite, known as Venus to the Romans, was the mother of Aeneas, who fled from Troy to Italy and found the Roman race. The other version was that the month derived from the Latin verb aperio, I open, as the poet Ovid wrote. There are similar debates about the origins of May and June. There was a story that Romulus named them after two divisions of the Roman male citizen body, the Majoris elders and Lunarius juniors. However, it was also believed that their names came from deities. The nymph Maya, who was assimilated with the earth, gave her name to May, while Juno, the goddess of war and women, was honored by the month of June. The numerical names of the months in the second half of the year remained unchanged until the end of the Roman Republic in 44 BC. Quintilis was rebranded as Lulius to celebrate the month in which the dictator Julius Caesar was born. This change survived Caesar's assassination, and in 8 BC, Caesar's adoptive son and heir, Emperor Augustus, had Sextilis renamed in his honor. This was not his birth month, which was September, but the month when he became consul and subjugated Egypt. This change left 4 months, September, October, November, and December, for later emperors to appropriate. Though none of their new names survive today, Domitian renamed September the month he became emperor, and Germanicus in honor of his victory over Germany, while October, his birthday month, he modestly retitled Domitianus after himself. However, Domitian's arrogance paled in comparison with the megalomaniacal Commandus, who rebranded all the months with his own imperial titles, including Amazonius, January, and Hercules, October. And these titles have survived Commodus' death. We would not have been the problem of our year ending with the months carrying the wrong numerical names, but we would be celebrating Christmas on the 25th of Exuperatoi. I don't even know how to. Exupertorius, all-surpassing conqueror, is what that means. That's it for that one.
I got some stuff
So
to tie
fuck
in
you,
with that.
Roman.
Hey man, I tell my mom all the time. I'm like, it was either Simon or Roman. Those are the two names, and she went with Roman, and I was like, okay, but but it's just I look back at it, I'm like, it's such they were terrible people. Like, why did you name me after these terrible tyrannical people? So
They rule the world today.
hey, you ain't wrong, baby. You
Right?
ain't wrong. We
Right.
out here
I
running
got some
it.
stuff on the Romans right here.
There we go.
The great poet Ovid chronicled the Roman festivals, or the Fasti, and in a section on the month May, he discussed Lemuria. Lemuria took place on 3 different days in May, on the 9th, 11th, and 13th of the month. Roman householders gave offering to the deceased ancestors to make sure their ancestors didn't haunt them. And they're referring to the Lemures, where the name Lemuria comes from. Lemures being the names of some of the spirits known by the Romans, and they honored them in a holiday in May. And so the name Lemuria may tie back to the ancient Romans through that, and may tie in with the lost ancestral trauma of the sinking of Lemuria, which a lot of people can access their lost ancestral trauma through some subconscious fears that we have. Like, a lot of people have these subconscious fears that they didn't learn from their family, that they're just born with either a fear of water or heights, or a lot of times you'll see fear with different things like the dark. But I had a past life regression experience earlier today where I was witnessing the flooding of Lemuria, and there were these tidal waves washing the continent under the ocean, and the people were swept up on these tidal waves and being brought up on these tsunamis, and just seeing their crashing down from these peaks of these waves, and just the dread and the trauma from those experiences have been veiled from us and are just becoming more apparent to those who are awakening now in deep meditation and self-mastery. But
Brother,
I have my blog.
I have a reoccurring dream of a tidal wave. I'm on a shore, and it's like just an incredible, like, it's just the regular waves, and then just a wall of water, and it's a reoccurring dream that I have, man. And it is like very surreal. So that's wild.
Absolutely. Now, to tie in with Romulus, Ovid alleged that the festival got its name from Remuria, a festival named after Remus, Romulus's twin brother, who he killed after founding Rome. Remus appeared as a ghost after his death and asked his brother's friends to make future generations honor him. Said Ovid. Romulus complied and gave the name Remuria to the day on which due to worship is paid for the buried ancestors. Eventually, Remuria became Lemuria. Scholars doubt that etymology, however, instead of supporting the likely theory that Lemuria was named for the lemures, one of the several types of the Roman spirits.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating.
Yes.
How
I have that PDF too.
Yeah.
I kept trying to pull it up, but my thing kept being all weird. But
And for the people listening, stay tuned, because we have a great conversation with Lowell Johnson, and Indy also joins us for that show. Should be out in a couple weeks, and we get into Telos, underground Lemurian city, and a fabulous conversation too. By the way, very deep, amazing conversation. So
he emailed us today and was like, "When are you putting that episode out?" And I'm like, "Hey man, it's a couple weeks. We're always prepared. We have a couple shows beforehand." But he contacted us today, and he was really excited on the chat too. He wants to do another one.
Awesome.
Excellent, man. Love to.
Show. I'm doing a study group with Telos right now at my spiritual church, and they're so excited to see that interview. We've been talking about Lowell Johnson's testimony.
Oh, nice.
Something I've noticed about the Gregorian calendar, it literally has not been adopted for that long. Like, even just in the last 100 years, there's been other holdouts. There's been other, like, just cultures of holding out. Like, no, we're moon phase people. It's not, this calendar that we're operating is not something that's been used for thousands of years. It's worldwide. It's been, you have to conquer people and to make that happen. So there's still tons of, it's literally like, Dan, maybe you know, like a good 100 years. I mean, we're talking World War II stuff, where at that time people were not operating on this calendar that we're using now, you know.
Russia just finally adopted the calendar in the early 1900s.
Yeah, see what I mean?
Like 1917 or 1918, something like that.
That's another
So,
thing
yeah.
where all you need is all you need is like one generation or two,
Mhm.
1.5 to completely wipe out that old and reprogram everyone.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is kind of why we wanted to talk about calendars and time, because time is so elusive. It's like what were we judging time by before? Were the years shorter? Were the years longer? And
Maybe we didn't.
why now do we use this solar lunar calendar? How come we went away from just the lunar calendar itself? There's a differentiation in days. I think when you use a lunar calendar, that's why they had to add a month to the year. Every I forget. I forget. Does anybody have an article or anything about that? About why they added a 13th month? Did you talk about that earlier, Roman?
Why they added it or why they took it away?
Yeah, why are they would add a 13th month to make up for the lost time every so, kind of like how we do a leap year now.
Mhm.
Oh
But
yeah,
with,
no,
Yeah, we
we were
mentioned
talking
that in the
about
Hebrew
they wouldn't add the 13th
Yeah.
month. They would have 13 months, 28 days a pop, and then the 1 or 2 days that were like celebratory ceremonial days.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
Once in the summer and once in
And
the
I can
Tonic.
tell you my personal experience. I've lived in the Arabian Peninsula for multiple years. I've visited all over the land. They operate on the moon cycle still now. Ramadan, etc. You name it.
Mhm.
Jewish calendars, you name it. All lunar still on their holy days. I've lived years outside of this place. I've been all over and witnessed a lot of things firsthand. And yeah, it's truly incredible when you start to see, whether it's Italy, it's wild to see things firsthand. Still, these holidays now today are based on the moon in most places, regardless of the what I personally deem the commerce calendar. That's just my little thing that I call it. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's pretty beautiful. And you know what? Side note: when you're in, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, wherever, and they sing their praises, it's literally whether you're not. And by the way, the Quran is way older than what they tell us. It's way older than it's kind of like Christianity, but was taken over by the Vatican, kind of thing. That one of those deals. Way older, very harmonious belief system. So at certain times they sing with a microphone, of speakers out across the land. It's actually quite beautiful. So think about this. We talk about vibes and everything. Singing beautiful praises across the land in the neighborhoods. You're talking, not only are the people receiving it, the land is receiving it. These beautiful prayers to, God or whatever you want to call them. Like, that is powerful stuff. Take the preconceived notions about religions or whatever. The Quran is one of those things that is so harmonious and based in a lot in sound. It's incredible. So I'm sorry, that's a little bit of a side note from this conversation.
Maybe not.
Yeah, not really
I
entirely.
mean, I'm just saying what resonates. Yeah, I'm saying, like, remove all. when you look in deep into the Quran, it's way older than what we're told. I'm telling you, it's one of those. It's one of those hijacked cultures. Like we already discussed a little bit here tonight. You hijack a couple things, you play around with it, you hodgepodge it, and you turn it. It's all Vatican controlled. But before that, I'm telling you, it was a beautiful and very sound related. It's when you think about it, like when I'm, I say this all the time. I learned this from the Arabian culture. Is when I speak about you, I only speak good things about you. When I think about you, I only think good thoughts about you. When I only have love for you in my heart, and that's how they embrace people, their friends. So I'm not trying to sell anyone on anything. This is just an anecdotal thing. Sorry.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, good,
Um,
man.
I actually had a past life ancestor regression with a figure from Islam known as Idris Nabayullah, who's a mercurial figure that was said to have invented writing and gave people their calendar and a lot of their civilization. But the Quran and the Islam people are represented by a moon and a star, which is a representation of Venus, if I'm not mistaken. But it's sad that we see that the enslavement of women is still strong in their culture today. Ever since we, have had this fallen matriarchal society, and we're still at war with the corrupt patriarch there, even though they represent themselves with the morning star of Venus, which we associate with the goddess.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite fascinating.
Another weird thing is, I noticed this when things were going on politically with Syria over a decade ago. They were taking out Christian temples, and they were still doing their Christian thing in Aramaic, which is what they were told that what was spoken when the Bible was being done. And obviously, in my opinion, I believe there's the time, like I remove a good 1,000 years. So if they say 2,000 years, I in my opinion, there's a difference in that time. But Aramaic, and then when you look into the Ethiopians, they speak Amharic. Amharic is Amheric. Amharic. They still speak that. It's an ancient language, and many even Ethiopians say they are even in the Bible they had like a Christian walking around, Ethiopian Christian walking around in the New Testament. So they have there's these ties here. Again, it's this hodgepodge of time being kind of shuffled around, all these cultures kind of being diluted and hodgepodge together. So it's you got Aramaic and you got Amharic, and it's very interesting. Of course, they destroy. Oh, by the way, that church I'm talking about, yeah, they destroyed that. You know what I mean?
Classic. Man, yeah, that's fascinating. There's I mean, I looked it up the other day. I can't remember, but the exact number. I'll just look it up right now. How many languages?
Forgive me if I digressed a little bit from the.
No, it's absolutely okay.
That's okay.
So right as of right now, there are over 7,100 languages apparently spoken.
Yeah, there's thousands that have not translated in Malaysia and Indonesia.
So it's just like, I mean, we can't just even understanding our own, right? Like just even dissect what we know, like what we've been, like without going into all of these other unknown languages, it's like, wow, is there enough time? You got to do your astral travel or like your sleep dream research, so when you're out in the, in the ether doing your thing as your spirit body while you're dreaming, like, accessing all these higher echelons of information or whatever your intuition or whatever that is, that beautiful thing, the you that's not you in your physical body when you're having these dreams or you're having these experiences, whatever that is being like, yo, what, take me here, like let's do it. I haven't been putting into practice, even though I've really been meaning to. We have another episode coming out. I think that this one will be coming out this week, with a UFO researcher, author of about 30 books. He just released a new book. He's talking to all these experiencers.
40 something, yeah.
40. He's so
you
many.
Put it out on
books,
Halloween, by the way.
Yes, I will. That's tomorrow. So let me get to work on that. Because, if you guys listen to the Rising from the Ashes, you know that every week is a fresh beat made in-house with only the purest of vibrations, baby. You feel me? Straight purple Ibanez, beautiful semi-hollow body.
I got the incense, Rome. I got I think I'm the only one here with the incense.
That's
Uh-huh.
right. What the hell?
I want to pick some up on my way through when I
There we
visit.
go. All
This is
right, all
one of the
right.
few incense- This is literally, man. This is one of the few incense. Shameless plug to my homie Romy.
Mhm.
Hey,
This is one of the few incense I can literally like breathe in. Like I can like. Usually the smoke, I don't like the smoke, but I can
Yeah.
actually breathe this in, and it's fine.
oh, nice. It's, I mean, yeah, the pine sap, it's really like it really is. So there's different kinds of incense, right? You have like resin based incense, which is old. It's the older incense. They would burn just tree resin on a coal, right? And it would just be the hard tree resin. They would burn it on a coal, and they still do that in ceremonial practices, and especially like on like a Buddhist shrine or a Buddha shrine, they'll have the coals and the incense and everything. And that's all like different types of tree resins. But then later, after we start doing alchemy and making oil extracts of the plants, that's when you start to see more oil-based incense come to play, which kind of makes it spread a lot further. So, which is why you see more of those in the stores. Most of these are all going to be just essential oil-based with some basic joss powder or something. But these ones are, like you're saying, they're just, and I had to stop production for a little bit because I'm like really busy right now with just like
Yeah,
regular
that's a lot.
farm work.
I know you put the energy into it. I can. It has the love. I say you add the love ingredient, bro. I think my candles are, like the candles are killing me. Like regular store bought candles, they're full of
Shit.
nonsense.
I
Yeah,
bought
it's
a
garbage.
$3 candle at Walmart
Parabens.
yesterday because I was walking through and I was like, "Oh, $3!" Like, because most candles are like like $30 for these size, and they have them for $3. And there's probably some stuff in there. You just gotta air out.
Burn it outside.
My lungs are black. Well, thank you, Bird Dog, and thank you for your report, brother. And I'm glad you are enjoying them. I wanted to, as my last anything, I wanted to bring up, and then I'm done. Okay, I had the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, and I was hoping somewhere in that book of this crazy SOB, BF, my boy, Benjamin Franklin. Kidding, not BFs or not my boyfriend or my boy.
Or my boy.
Anyways, he's he's popular for a lot of reasons, right? And I was thinking, the Farmer's Almanac, like Benjamin Franklin has associations with that. So I grabbed the book, try to find something in there, and I didn't. But what I did find, now this is cool, and it's completely not relevant to anything we've been talking about, but it's cool. So he created this thing called the harmonica, which is a glass harmonica, which before this is glass bowls stacked inside of each other with a rod going through, and they turn on a wheel. And so instead of rubbing your wet finger around the glass of a rim or the rim of a glass, these are already spinning for you. So you get to play it more like a keyboard, like a piano. And I found that out. I was like, oh my, what? I was like, what is that? That's fucking tight. Like, that's a crazy instrument because you have the glass bowls, that you guys hit. You hit the singing bowls, right? But to have them spinning for you and you just place your fingers on there, your wet fingers, that's cool. And one of the words for these types of instruments, now I'm going to butcher this, but check this out. It's hydrodactyl psychic harmonica. Is also recorded and composed to Greek roots to mean something like harmonica, to produce music for the soul by fingers dipped in water. Hydro for water, dactyl for finger, psych for soul. The Oxford Companion to Music mentions that this word is the longest section of the Greek language ever attached to any musical instrument. For the Reader of the Times wrote the paper in 1932 to say that in his youth he heard a performance of the instrument where it was called a hydrodactyl psychic harmonica. The Museum of Music in Paris displays a Hydractodactyl psychic, psychic vampire, Monica from Friends. Anyways, I thought it was cool. Just wanted to show you guys that.
Nailed
No,
it.
you nailed it.
Killing it.
Dude, imagine, okay, the guy who founded electricity, right, by tying a key to a kite, right? If you believe that fucking story, this guy that was making, so the only other,
I believe everything I'm told.
of course, he was just like, you know what? Hey, I know there's electricity in the atmosphere. We have to funnel it here some way. I have a golden key. I've got the golden ticket, right? Ride the lightning bridge, baby. The crystal prism right to the other side, across the river of Styx. Slide up, slide in, slide out. Flippity flap your wings.
Well, I got two thoughts on that. One, I want to start. Can we start a band with that instrument? I don't know what it sounds like, but it
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
Dude,
I don't know. How
Yes.
do you, you're just gonna rage on it? I don't know.
And
Dude,
ring
I have-
stones.
Oh, ring stones. What's this?
But while you're looking up
What do you
that,
mean
I
it's
mean,
ring stones? You
also,
don't know ring stones?
what they tell us on the architecture with these are just lightning rods. What type of moron would put a lightning rod on the top of their building? You're gonna put a lightning rod away from your building.
Tech.
Mm-hmm. That's
Yep.
facts.
Harnessing the electricity. And they stored it, I think, too, in the foundation somehow.
Oh, aka battery, Starfort battery.
So,
Yep.
so you're saying you wanted to start a band, and I was saying
Yeah.
ring stones. There's ring stones where you can hit the stone, and they have different sounds that it makes.
You
They're
know,
ancient
you know what?
stones. It's
I gotta hear
This
it,
is like
though.
the work
Let us
of-
hear it.
work of Michael Tellinger. Here,
Glass.
I'll look something
Michael
up
Tellinger
there.
is
I love
the
Michael
shit.
Tellinger.
I love Michael Tellinger too. His presentations are amazing.
He's out there.
I've always had this idea of like setting up a place in the forest that could be like you have a big campfire in the middle, but all around, embedded into the trees and into the scenery of this little spot, is all these like homemade instruments, big drums, things like this spinning bowls apparently that you just touch
Yeah.
with like metal, like whatever. And then everybody comes and you start vibing out, you start doing like, yo,
I've never been to Red Rock. I've never been to like Red Rock outside of Denver, but that's evidently they have concerts there.
uh-huh.
And it literally is. It's like it's like an amphitheater, but it's the rock. So imagine you take your idea. We find our own Red Rock,
Mm.
and
Oh.
we we embed our instruments into the thing, and just like
I love it. I love that idea. That is, dude. And then this lady used to make these necklaces that was like bioluminescent algae rolled. She rolled a crystal in the bioluminescent algae because they make this bioluminescent paint. Like you can grow bioluminescent algae now. And so they rolled a crystal in that, and then she sticks it in wood. Okay. So like you have this necklace, and it's a crystal that's glowing from the sunlight because the bacteria gets charged from the sun, and it's stuck in wood. And I'm like, yo, we could make that into like huge, like glowing ones. Like you just take a bunch of this algae, and oh man, I have so many ideas. We should do this though. We'll buy some property, vacant land somewhere, and we all just. So what we'll do, this is it, guys. Listen, this is it. Listen up. This is it. Strap into your sweet Chevrolet legs, because all right, we're all gonna throw down on a piece of property. We're gonna do it, and by all of us, I mean I'll do it. I'll buy it for everybody. No worries, it's on you, boy. Just kidding. Anyways, we take back the 13 months. We take back the moon calendar. We take back the old knowledge. And on these two different holidays, the holy days, we go and we hold, I don't know, we just hold space for each other there. We make music, we camp out,
Love it.
watch the stars, whatever. That would be amazing.
Love it.
And we have real rock bands.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
real
right
rock
here.
band. Yeah,
Made from rocks.
made from rocks. Oh my. Okay, so I'm gonna play this glass harmonica sound. Let's see what it sounds like. Holy shit.
Wow, trippy.
Wow, I'm sampling this. That's some Harry Potter shit. Okay, so
At least.
that's so good.
It's better
Okay,
than
so
Harry
the
Potter.
synthesizer, the
Harry
birth of the
Potter.
synthesizer broke
Mhm.
music, right? The electric synthesizer broke music because you're able to get like those sounds right there are like what almost every beautiful glass bowl MIDI sound
Mhm.
sounds like, and you're able to play that on your computer. Man, so that oscillator, that's like basically the first synthesizer, kind of. Now I think about it, because synthesizers work on oscillators, and then you just tune the different frequency to it, and you know you got the guy who invented electricity who made that, and then basically he's like the father of the synth. That's insane.
Share me, Roman.
Oh, there we go. There we
So
go.
Here we go. Let me know if you can hear it or not. Takes a little minute. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Uh-oh.
Get the fuck out of here.
You got this.
Is it not playing?
Is it going?
No.
True harmonics.
You can't hear it?
No.
Mm-mm.
Ah, shit.
I'll try to find a video of it real quick.
Okay. Just type in Tellinger Ringing Stones. It'll pop up right away.
Okay, here we go. For Blappy. Just 1 second. All right, well, we cap it at 3 hours today, eh?
Hey.
Yeah, let's just play this.
Okay,
Let's
we'll
get-
play this and then we'll cap it. We'll do last final shout outs, all the things. This is it. Okay, sorry.
I got something to share, man. It's gonna blow your minds.
Oh, awesome. Oh, here we are. Okay. 20 minutes later.
Boom, we got it. There it is. You're on deck, brother.
Nice.
I don't hear it.
I'm going to
though.
show you some of the most remarkable artifacts that I've collected. This particular stone in my hand here, this beautiful Stone Age club, it looks like something out of Flintstones. I'm going to show you how they ring like bells, because I can't carry these with me all over the world. So a quick demonstration how these stones ring like bells. I just discovered that in geological terms, these stones, this particular stone, the Hornfels in South Africa, is also known as ringstone for that very specific reason. And to ring these, I'm going to use my brand new tool that I've just collected about a week ago, this phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal artifact. And I'm going to use this to ring these stones. This looks, we always joked when I found this, that this looks like a Stone Age guitar. And it's pretty much like that, you know. And I'm going to show you that it is very closely related to a musical instrument in ancient times for very specific reasons. Now, you might think that the stone shape is just accidental and that it broke off or something. You'd be mistaken, because I've collected probably about 4 or 5 stones that are very, very similar in shape, very similar carving structure. There's broad base here and then down to a narrow tip. And somebody removed this particular piece of the stone over there for specific reasons, as you will hear, which I'll ring a little bit more. They ring like bells. But it's also important to note that you cannot carve or chip the stone. It will splinter and fragment, and it will not be chipped or carved.
You have to sand it with
Okay,
water.
so these shapes that we see here must have been molded in some way, and molded for specific acoustic properties.
What?
And this is why. You've got to hold it a very specific way to make as little contact as possible to get it to ring and resonate at its optimum. Now remember, it's also covered in patina, the skin of the rock, this brown reddish color that covers the rock, that is no longer the original black or charcoal color, the original color of the metamorphosized quartzite that's underneath. And that's how it rings.
That's a good one.
I can actually feel my fingers underneath are deadening the ringing because I'm holding it and it's deadening some of the effect.
Oh, there you
There we
go.
go.
That's a good one.
That's better.
That's it. Oh yeah, baby.
That's what you want. You realize that this thing really rings like a bell and it reverberates for quite a long time.
Look at his pinky. Look at his pinky.
All right, and now to show you that this is not the only one, here's the other one. The Stone Age Club.
He's drinking tea.
And I drove over this myself a few times, driving up the mountain of the forest road, and eventually I stopped and picked it up because I realized this is one of the most remarkable tools that you will ever find, and thank God I did. And it is very heavy. I'm out of breath because I'm holding my breath not to make a noise. And this thing weighs probably about 15 kilos. So,
Yeah, I'm
Roman, I got something for you, man.
yes, real
More
quick, real
cowbell.
quick. I just want to say they have to be I don't think they were holding them, obviously, right? Like I think they were used as some sort of percussion or something, man. Like imagine that
Yeah.
marimba setup, dude. Like what?
Yeah. Like the
Bro,
steel
let me
drum.
share this with you, because what I'm going to share with you is that, but it's the entire Anchor Watt pillar of the entire structure. So
Yeah.
imagine that stone right now, but the entire construct. Can I share?
12 pillars.
Yes, please.
Now,
Totally excellent.
now the video's gonna start. It's only 1 minute. Give me like 1 minute. Now, it's gonna start slow, and then you're gonna hear better sounds as it goes. Watch this. So I'll try and share.
48 pillars.
I haven't vetted this video, but it seems okay. Okay, ready? Give this 1 minute. You're gonna hear it.
Oh, is this? I know this fool. Yep, probably.
Yeah, I know
probably
this guy.
this guy's
Yeah.
amazing.
So that
Praveen
stone
Mohan.
that guy played, which is I would love to have one, but this is the whole pillar. Now it's going to start out with not too exciting, and then give it a second. It's going to get more interesting.
The whole building.
Now, here's the sound of a temple bell. And here is a sound similar to a school bell. Now, you can combine these various sounds to create even modern sounds. For example, this is the combination of the temple bell and the school bell to create the modern day doorbell. How do these different pillars create various sounds? But this is nothing when you take this pillar that's made of one stone and has small columns carved onto it. If you tap on each of these small columns, they create the 7 notes of the musical scale in Indian classical music, which is similar to do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti in Western world. This is what it sounds like. What kind of stone technology?
So my point is, I don't want to play the whole video, but my point is the whole daggone structure is harmonic and geopolymers, and they took some British government they chopped a piece off of this to take it back home to study, and all they found was that it was just simple elements. It wasn't complex. It was merely just geopolymers of basic materials. The whole daggone structure is harmonic, man. I don't know about y'all, but
insane.
It's crazy.
Insane. No, like seriously, because think about it. They're shaped like bells. A lot of those buildings have the bell shape themselves. They've been telling it all along, man. Like that's resonance architecture. Like, oh my god, that blows my mind. Praveen Mohan is amazing. Oh goodness, man.
I think that's why they melted a lot of buildings.
Oh, because they were hollow. Like they were like
Because
hollow.
they were
stone.
harmonic. They were
Acoustic.
harmonic, acoustic, and the sound healing properties and all of those things that were associated with them. It's easier to hide the tech by melting the building than and telling us it's just rocks that they just look that way.
Well, it's funny because you have the other half of that, like the European version of that are the basilicas, right? Like so building the pipe organs. They were more into the building of the pipes as opposed to the entire temple being resonant with hollow stone.
And they destroyed those pipes, man. Those huge buildings, the whole wall being these pipes that you're talking about.
Yeah, done. And like back to what we were talking about earlier with the water pipes, the water organs from ancient Greece, they would have like these. They said that in ancient Rome is where the plumbing was discovered, right? Like the first plumbing irrigation systems. So you have water running through these towns, and then water using their instruments, and even the story of like church bells being within like certain amounts of distance away from each other too. So the church bell has a certain amount of resonance. That's why churches need to be close to each other. So then when they pick up, the other one, they all ring and they all create a wall of sound, like solid wall of sound. Solid wall of sound. It's not how that song goes, but you know what I'm trying to say.
It is now.
That is. Yes. Man, that was a great share, brother. Thank you, Bird Dog.
That was.
Super awesome.
All right. Well, let's plug away. Let's do the things. And we'll call this one a wrap. This is one for the books.
Solid.
One for the calendars, I'll say.
There's also proof of plumbing in Babylon, Sumeria, by the way. Which is
I think there's also something in Crete. Goes back to the Minoan culture.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm
around for a long time.
It's just like when Benjamin Franklin didn't really like invent electricity, like they just give the credit to
usurpers.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Whoever stole the tech.
Our founding fathers. How dare you desecrate their good name?
Whoever wants to have space sex can just steal the title and say it's all their tech.
Oh, SpaceX?
SpaceX, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that is what you said. Okay.
True.
That is what I said.
Yeah.
So the cracking of the Liberty Bell too is something that always has interested and fascinated me, tying it into like the story of, why is it such a big story? Like who fucking cares? Right?
Disharmony.
Like, who cares? But disharmony, exactly. So that's fascinating. Goodness. Anyways, plug away. Andy, plug, Mumbrew.
Cool. Thanks for coming into the show, guys, today. If you guys like what you're seeing, come back for some more with Rising from the Ashes podcast. You guys can check me out on my blog page, vibetribescribe.wordpress.com. Check me out. And a final note, there's a Scottish calendar that ties back to 10,000 BC, the one that might have started it all. Maybe came out around the same time as the dead noob culture that Dan mentioned earlier. Tribe of Dan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tribe of Dan.
Goes way back.
Nice.
All right.
Stacy, is there anywhere people can find you? Want to talk to you? You got anything for these beautiful humans?
On all the socials, well, not all of them, Insta, Facebook, and Telegrams, you can find me under Stacy Sunshine. I'm getting more vocal, clearing that throat chakra, and finding my voice again. I'll have my own something here pretty soon. It's coming.
Cool.
Excellent.
So,
Thanks, Stacy,
for having me.
Great having you on the
Bird
show.
dog. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it my
California
turn?
Unite. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Bird Dog. You know what, dude? When you first popped in earlier, I thought you were wearing like a kimono, and I realized it's just like a zip up. That's why I was like,
Dude, I wish I had a kimono.
You would rock a
totally thought it was
kimono,
a
dude.
kimono,
You would.
dude.
You would.
You know, I was
totally
thinking
could
today
pull
I
it
need
off,
like
man.
I need a super dope poncho, alpaca, Peruvian. I want to go with the poncho look, bro. That's the look, man. Dude,
Shaman status.
shaman status. Anyone in Peru, if you know any good alpaca dealers, send them my way, man.
If they send you the yarn, we can work a deal and I'll knit you or crochet you a poncho, something. We'll figure it all out.
You see, we're a powerful
Family.
tribe here, man. We are many
Family love
skilled
right
and
there.
many.
Barter trade.
It is a true pleasure and honor to be here among you powerful beings. I feel like I'm among titans, and I mean that from my heart.
He's big.
Thanks, man.
If you want to come check me out, feel free. I'm here to just vibe with the tribe, So I'm not here to sell anything. I want nothing from no one. I'm receiving so much from everyone. It's incredible. So shout out to everyone in the chat and those who join us. You guys share such deep knowledge that I'm always such appreciative, and I grow every week. Every next week it's like I'm even more powerful and I'm more powerful. So it's a true honor, peace, and blessings. Enough of my ramblings and rantings, barely incoherent. If you want to check out my YouTube, feel free. It's great, beautiful, it's free. But much love to everyone. Peace and harmony. Seriously.
What's your Friday show? Is it the Spiderwebs thing?
No, I mean it's check out
Ronan,
Bird
shut
Dog, the
up.
Crypto Ronin.
Mhm.
And my friend, you're invited, bro. Like, please come. Romy's invited. He's too busy. Danunaki Dan, come. Danunaki, come join. Stacy, come join and share. It's very informal. It's not an interview. We, unfortunately, I'll probably interrupt everyone. Just unfortunately, I don't mean to. I don't want to, but I can't help it because I get excited. So you guys have an open invitation, please. And I'm on the Rising of the Ashes Telegram, man. Like I'm here to engage. I'm out of my hermit phase. I want to vibe with the tribe, man. So yeah, man. Thank you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, for sure. Yo. All I hear is ambient noise.
It's raining.
Awesome.
Yourself, Rowan.
Oh, I do hear the rain. I hear
You're
rain
loud.
somewhere.
Yeah.
All right,
Where did Slick Dissident go?
He's in the
Man,
chat.
I wish you could have jumped on. I know he's the calendar man, and he could have thrown all kinds of good stuff in there for us. But yeah, this was a good show.
Morongo,
This was a good one.
It was.
So, Roman, get those other shows out on the audio, man. What are you doing? Sleeping over there. But thanks everybody for joining. The music throws me off. Thanks everybody for joining us for another What do we call this shit? I forgot.
Sunday slow burn.
Sunday slow burn. And until next week, wake
up.